Man, wait, what you just do, man?
Hold on, let me try to stop it.
How you do
No,
it? How you do it? Do it again.
no.
Do it again. Wait. I got
Hey
French
Google.
people on the line today.
Hey Google. Lights to purple. I think that's a good color. Let's see. Yeah, there it is.
Man, you can do that.
Yeah, I could do way more than that. I can. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to do it, but I
Oh,
could.
he
I have to
turned. He
play
turned. He
music and
turned.
do some pretty cool stuff. Hey Google. Lights to chocolate. Yeah, I'll just do that one. But oh man, don't get me started because I'll do
Oh
it to
man,
where it plays
we got the
music.
techies on the line. What's up, everybody? It's Lamont. Welcome back to the God is My Source podcast. We bridge the gap between God, money, health, family, and relationships. I got my man Terrance Veals on the line from Chicago, Illinois. The techie, the man with the plan. I ain't gonna lie. Ever since I met Terrance, he been getting to the bag. So I appreciate Terrance for coming on the line, talking to us today, talking about his walk, talking about everything he has been through. And let's hopefully we can, not hopefully, we're gonna get some people closer to Christ. We're gonna get some people to understand how it is to put Christ first and how he can put you in a good position. And maybe we can get some people in tech. So we're gonna first start off with a word of prayer. We're gonna get started. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you, we honor you, we praise you. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to just come before your throne to just thank you for everything you've done. We thank you for allowing us to get this platform to talk to different people about you. We ask you to just bring people closer to you, bring people that have gone astray from you, bring them back to you. We ask you to just talk through us, Lord, so that we can be able to show people how to put you first. For your word says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, not seek ye first money, not seek ye first a job, not seek ye first a career. But when we seek you first, all the things that we think in life that we need will be added unto us. We ask you, Lord Jesus, just to prepare our hearts and minds to just be open to different opportunities, be open to finding out how we can use your word to help us steer ourselves in life. We thank you for everything you've done, and we put you first in all things. We honor you. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. It is so and it shall be. Amen.
Amen. Definitely.
My man Terrance on the line. I ain't seen Terrance in a few years. When the last time I seen you?
Man, I have no idea. So I left Florida in 2017. So it feels like yesterday, but it's been a minute. Like it's been a long while. We talked, but yeah, I haven't seen you in a minute, definitely.
Man, it's amazing that just to get everything back into perspective. So just a background story. I met Terrance. So everybody know the background story. I used to be an Alpha. So Alpha met Terrance. We was at a function and we end up I think we was at a probate one. We was at a probate or something like that.
I believe it was a probate.
And we just connected. We was talking, you feel me? Great minds always think alike. We just got to conversating. And then we just started like, you feel me? Just like always bouncing ideas off each other. I believe at the time you was working as a consultant, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was working at eBuilder, which is a software company down in Florida. But yeah, I was a business analyst. So yeah, it was like like consulting. It was definitely consulting.
Okay. So I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Terrance taught me about a whole nother industry of business that I knew nothing about. I came to Florida straight from college. He was, he was a little seasoned. I think you like a year or two older than me.
Yeah, so I was in Florida. That was my second software company. So I was 3 years out actually at that point.
You
so
see,
like 20,
second software company. We just now learned about tech. He been doing this for a minute. So like, let's get back into the background story. So like, who is Terrance Veals? What's your testimony? Let's start there.
Okay, man, that's a loaded question. Who is Terrance Veals? Man, I guess me as an individual. So, like you said, I grew up in Chicago, from the west side of Chicago. So, Chicago proper, right? Not necessarily the suburbs, but actually grew up in Chicago. Went to school, high school there. I actually went to Ball State University, so that was in Indiana, where I studied information systems. From there, I was heavily involved, as you said. Became a member of Alpha. I was an RA. I was the president of the Black Student Association. Anything you can do in college, I'm pretty sure I did it. And you know what I mean? I just kind of lived that whole experience, and good and bad, right? But I think that just kind of made me a better person. And as soon as or right before I graduated college, I actually had the blessing of actually being offered a job. So I think it was like 2 months before I graduated, I was offered a job at the first place I was at, and that was Kronos. So I was there as an application consultant for 3 years, and then from there I moved on to Florida, and that's where I met Mott, and that's when I worked at eBuilder. Once again, I don't know if you want me to talk about how God has kind of been littered through all of that, or you want me to just keep going. But
Nah,
yeah.
you just do your thing. I mean, God gonna talk through us anyway. He gonna let us shine light regardless.
Okay. Well, I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, I could take it back a step. I mean, I could take it all the way back to the beginning if you really want to talk about that. But from a person and I guess a career standpoint, I mean, at my first job out of college at Kronos, that wasn't necessarily a highlight of my, I would say, professional career, just because I really didn't like the job. Right. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't what I did. It was what let's just say the tech that I was working with. And I think the only thing that kept me there, I think I have a genuine passion for helping people. And throughout my career, helping people is kind of always there. But what happened was, it was one of those things where when you work in tech and you see how it affects people's lives. So I did time management, right? So when you say, like, if I don't do my job, someone doesn't get paid. It kind of kept me there longer, right? So Christmas will come around, and if I'm lazy and I don't want to go through and configure the software X, Y, Z, then payroll doesn't come through. And now that little kid in that family, they don't have payroll, right? We kind of overlook those small things in the world, but that's someone behind a keyboard making sure that when you clock in and clock out, that stuff works. That's what I did. And I got really close to my customers. I got close to my coworkers. So I stayed there way longer than I should have. And honestly, man, and I really was ready to go. And I was praying. I prayed almost, I mean, when I say every day, I feel like that was an understatement. I used to fill out job applications on my way to work, like physically walking, praying like, I hope I get a response, right? This was like, I already had my first job out of college, but getting that second job, people don't talk about that. And I'm sorry about that if you can hear a dog, but like, people don't talk about getting a second job out of college, because it's kind of like, yeah, you have experience, but what type of experience do you have? Can you articulate why you're valuable to a company? And some of that I just didn't know how to do, to be honest. So I mean, I prayed, and actually received a job offer at a company in Los Angeles. So this is before I even moved to Florida. I was going to move to LA. And what happened was, it wasn't right. I think I told myself I not only wanted a job that I think I would like, but something that just fit me, right? And I think me being vulnerable enough to pray on it, to say, this is what I'm looking for, what's out there. And I feel like the God or the universe, however you want to put it, God said, you know what, here's something. And I think it was, in my mind, it was like, oh, I'm supposed to jump at that. But it wasn't right. And I feel like we can, we can go back and forth about situations in life where something presents itself and you think it's ideal, but it's not the ideal situation. And a lot of people kind of fall for that, if you will. But I held out. It was one of those things where it's kind of like, no, I can, what's the expression, like, nah, bigger, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was the thought. And honestly, it was like 2 weeks later, I was approached by the job in Florida, and I really want to move to Florida. It was like, honestly, I can say one of the times where, like, when dreams come true, and I was able to move to South Florida. I wanted to live in Miami proper, but a common thread throughout my life is I always tell people, like, I pray for something, and then it doesn't happen exactly how I wanted it. So I kind of get like, you kind of upset, but then turns out it's way better, right? I want to live in Miami proper, but Fort Lauderdale, as you know, I don't know how deep we want to get in this conversation, but Fort Lauderdale was suited way better for both of us, I feel like, than living in, like, Miami proper, just based on circumstances. And we were in it, but we were out of it. And that kind of, it made it so that, I mean, not to kind of tell your story, but like, we can, like, venture out and do different things, and that the Miami life didn't take over our lives, right? We can disassociate it from it because it's, it's 45 minutes away. So that was probably the first time in my life where, or the second time rather, where it was kind of like, God said, hey, this is what I want you to do, or this is something for you. And I, didn't necessarily jump at it, because it's kind of like, you pray for a reason. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, this is what I'm looking for. And if you jump on that first thing, sometimes it's not what you always, what you really want, or what's meant for you. And then when you stay true to what you want, then God is going to be like, yep, well, this is actually what you wanted, right? So yeah, I guess that's a higher level of that. I could keep going. I've been in tech for 10 years. I've been, you know what I'm saying? So I have ups and downs all through it. So let me know.
No, I ain't gonna lie. We was in Fort Lauderdale. He right about that though, because I ain't gonna lie, we was kicking it. We was he was going down.
Oh
Hey,
man, yeah.
I've been telling people about the stories and like, no, we had a different group of people that we used to
Yep.
hang out with. So it was like this is how you can explain. A lot of people don't know how it is in South Florida.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
when you live in South Florida, it's a large, well, I'm gonna say it's a small group, but it's bigger than most cities when it comes to collaborating and doing different things when it comes to Black people. Because Black people, since it's so many Hispanics, so many other races down there, the Black people just come together and they like created like a professional, like a Black professional society. And so somehow, somewhere, we get caught up in it. I meet him, he get me caught up in it because he knew somebody else. And now we just like, now we in Miami all the time. And
we're in
it's
the
not the typical, it's not South Beach though. Everybody, when they think Miami, they think South Beach. I'm talking about like, we was in Wynwood before Wynwood was Wynwood. We was going to like all these, I'm talking about the dopest events you can think of. We went to Art Basel,
the yacht parties, and
like,
it was.
I'm not gonna encourage y'all to go out and kick it, but Miami is a nice place. If you've never been to Art Basel before, you don't got to go and drink and all that stuff. But Art Basel is something that's like, I think everybody should go and do, because it's something that it's a cultural experience. You got people coming from across the world just to come see art exhibits, and it's different types of art exhibits. I remember one time, one time we went to this is like the best event I think I ever been to in my life. We gonna call it a party. It was an event. It was an event. We're gonna call it an event. We was at the W Hotel South Beach. I know you remember this because this is how I ended up. I think you was the reason why I started looking for jobs at this point in time. Matter of fact, we was at the W Hotel, and and they had everything. When I say everything, they had everything. They had food. They had an open bar, and the bar wasn't cheesy. It wasn't cheesy.
No.
They had Don Perignon at the bar. Yeah. They had 1942. I'm talking about whatever you wanted was there.
Anything you wanted.
They had. I'm talking. Miami had you already know women down in Miami. We know that, but it was crazy. Like, but I'm not, like I said, I encourage y'all to do that. But
but no, so I think it's not even encouraging. It's one of those things where, I mean, you could do it and do it responsible as well, right? So if you go down to Art Basel or anything, anywhere, I think, I've been to Vegas probably 10 times for work, honestly. So I've been there a lot, and I feel like you can do things and still have fun and not kind of fall into whatever the vices may be, right? So I feel like Miami, even the event that you're speaking on, is one of those things where, even if, because I know people that we hung out with that didn't drink, right, or did all that stuff, it's like you can still go and have a great time because you never know who's standing next to you, right? I feel like Art Basel is I tell people all the time, it's like where people that you think, or people that anyone looks at as like the upper echelon or whatever, they become normal people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember we went to where was that? I think it was the W Hotel, and then we went to a lot of other events where the whole cast of Insecure is just in the crowd with us kicking in when Insecure first came out. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like
beginning, like Issa Rae type,
like just hanging out.
They're like, that's Issa Rae. You walk past Issa Rae.
Yeah, and everybody it's like everybody's people. There is no VIP. It's just like you're a person, you're at an event, you're here to have fun, and you just have fun. So I think
how was we even getting in that stuff? Because I'm not gonna lie, any you can go, but you gotta like know somebody to get you in this stuff.
I think honestly, if you'll be transparent, I think it's the bougie chat. So I don't know. I know people don't know what that is. That might, or they might or may not. But I think it's the group of individuals. So I think with me and you, what happened was we came down to Florida. We were just kind of, I wouldn't say bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but we were just open to experiencing and networking, right? And I think by us being open to networking, I could talk about how that relates to my life, because I network a ton, and I've gotten to my job now. Yeah, I really got to not even really. I literally have my job now at what I would consider my dream company, networking 100%, right? I'm not even sure like I mean, I know what I did in the past had something to do with it, but it was 100% networking. But I feel like to come back to Florida, it was the fact that we were open to meet people and we were just authentically us. I feel like people who know mine and they know mine. It's like it's you who you are, and like they know who I am, and it's like 100% versus like, oh, you're trying to put on a facade or X, Y, Z. It's just kind of like, nope, I'm from Chicago, I'm not from Cleveland. This is what you get what you get, and either you gonna rock with me, either you know what I'm saying, either you're gonna kick it with us or you're not. But we're gonna always show up and be genuinely, us. And then we're gonna add value too. I feel like some of the best conversations I had about life, or if you guys don't know, mine was, I don't know if you still are, but you're a huge Drake fan. Like, oh my God, I remember being in your car and you're like, how is he not the best rapper you ever heard? And I'm like, man, I just don't think he's that great. You like, he sing, he rap, he write other people's stuff. I'm like, man, you don't have proof about that. You like, it don't matter. I like, you probably don't remember this, but I really.
This is before the scandal too.
Yeah, this is before everything. This is when Drake was still like the older Drake. But no,
Drake's
but what I'm saying
GOAT,
is that.
though.
Yes, okay. See, I was waiting for you to say that, but I feel like that's how we, you know what I mean? I think that was a different experience for us. It's like we weren't afraid to meet people, and when we met them, it's kind of like we were who we are. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like we didn't try to, try to fake and be someone else. So I think we really were fortunate because of that, and we had a lot of great experiences because of it.
You just took me back. Hey, no, we've seen everything in South Florida you think you could see. And it was crazy because, like I said, people don't understand. Like we've been in places. I done been with Terrance. He done roll with me, or I done roll with him, and we done ended up having to park somewhere. And we asking people like, "Do you know where such and such is?" They don't even speak English.
or they don't even know what it is. Like in Miami, people don't even know where stuff is. Like, I never heard of that. And it's like,
I know you remember we went to that place. This is another place that was pretty sweet. It was I don't know what it was. I think it was some company was down there doing something, but they were screen print T-shirts. I know you remember
T-shirts,
that.
Yeah.
That's
I think that was
middle of Hialeah somewhere.
Yeah,
Random.
And it was like
nobody spoke English. Nobody spoke English, and I was like,
that.
We in they call it Little Havana or something, Little Havana.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, where's we at? I hope they don't get me.
Yeah, because I mean, at those type of events, you don't know where to park your car because it's like it'll be in a random warehouse in a neighborhood, and you're like, is this the address? And then when you get in there, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe, where we are as it relates to being located in Miami. But I definitely remember that. Yeah, it's like we all parked our cars together and we get out the car. We were dressed up and everybody looking at us like, where are they going? It was just like, yeah, a random event. Yeah, definitely.
But if you ever go to Florida, just don't think about I'm saying all this to say, don't just go straight to South Beach. Like South Beach is good, it's cool, it's a good experience, but I would say go there for a day, go see what else is going on, get on your phone, find out what's going on. If you know me personally, just hit me up. I'll let you know where you got to go. You don't got to just be on South Beach. Like, I know you get bored after a while doing the same thing. And then they go to, where they go? Fat Tuesday and.
Yeah, Fat Tuesdays and Wet Willie.
Every club is the same after you go to one of them. Too. So broaden your horizon, get a little cultured up. We had the fortunate to get a little cultured up. We done been all type of places. You can go places, you next to celebrities. I know a lot of people like to be around celebrities. We next to them, don't even care. We fried actually, but it was cool though.
Yeah, it was super.
I learned a lot of stuff from Terrance too, because like you said, like, how did you even get in this position though to even get in tech? Like, you from Chicago, like, but you're not from Chicago. Yeah. You from Chicago. Like, what part of Chicago?
I'm from the West Side, so I'm from So for the people that know Chicago, this might sound redundant, but for the people that don't, so I feel as a Chicago native, I'm gonna give my opinion. So facts are facts, but I feel like Chicago has two sides for minorities or Black people. There's the West Side and the South Side. Some people say the East Side as well. People claim the North Side, but it's like that's still the West Side. So I just give it two sides: is the West Side and the South Side. So the South Side is way bigger, right? So typically when you hear, like, if you're into music, you hear of the South Side. Everybody's from the South Side because it's just huge. I'm from the West Side, which is a smaller part of, the minority part of Chicago, if you will. And it's a lot of competition and back and forth, like which one is which one is worse.
That the low end.
Yeah.
That the low end.
No. So the low end, where's the low end? The low end is still out south. So yeah, that's still. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so where I'm from, you have like L Town. Well, L Town ain't a thing. We call it L Town, but you definitely have K Town. So like Twista, you go musically. Like Twista is from the West Side. He's from K Town. You got Crucial Conflict. I don't know if you know about them, but Crucial Conflict is from the West Side. I used to live like a couple of blocks, not too far from where I grew up. Lorenz Tate, his grandmother used to stay on I think his grandmother used to stay on the same block as my grandmother on the West Side. So it's like the West Side is like a smaller part of Chicago, but it's so that's the part of the Chicago where I'm from. So, and I guess to get to your question, how I get into tech, I think so I went to a school, it's called Crane Tech. So not to be confused with other schools that have a similar name, but are like greater schools. I went to a school called Crane Tech, and I love the school. I went there from 7th grade to my senior year high school, which is, kind of crazy. I went to like this math and tech academy that they were trying to start up there. And that's where I first got into tech. It was one of those things where I was always into computers. But what happened was that one of my teachers, his name was Mr. Godfrey, and I still have him on Facebook. So when you post this, I'm gonna, big shout out to Mr. Godfrey. So if you guys know Lil Rel, Lil Rel, the actor, he's like getting really, really big now.
I think so.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
So he's been in a couple of movies now. He went to my high school as well. My school is a big basketball school. When I say big basketball, I'm talking about athletes are like churned through my school or whatnot, and we can go through the list. But it's one of those things where Mr. Godfrey has been a pillar in like Crane for years, outside of a couple other people. So you have like Mr. Scott and then Mr. Richardson, but Mr. Godfrey, as it relates to computers, that's how I got into it. So I was, we had like normal computer classes, but then when I got to high school, it was one of those things where it was one of those things where he kind of nurtured the fact that I like computers, not in like a movie type of way, but just one of those things like, I don't feel like going to lunch today. Can I chill in the back of your computer class and just do what I want to do on the internet? And then, to be honest, I learned what proxies was, so I can go on Facebook. I was one of the first people to go on Facebook in my school because I knew the websites that you could sneak into and stuff like that. But so he kind of nurtured that throughout the years. You know what I mean? That like, it's okay to, to be interested in computers. And so like, even like summer jobs is one of those things where nobody wanted to do the yearbook, right? I didn't go to a big luxurious school, but nobody really wanted to do the yearbook. So it's just kind of like, Terrance, what you doing this summer? Is like, well, I'm playing sports. He was like, okay, when you're not playing sports, I want you to help with the yearbook. So I was, summertime, had a job on computers, helping with the yearbook. So I don't even know if it was directly, I could ask him, but I think he passively nurtured the computer side of me. And then my family, because I was, it's kind of funny, I was a bigger kid, wore glasses. One of those things, my uncle used to call me the professor. Right. So this was before Nutty Professor, but it was a horrible nickname because it fell right into Nutty Professor. Like, you know what I'm saying? He probably gave it a nickname 2 years before the movie even came out because I was like a smarter kid. But then the movie came out. So it was just like, oh, this is like the worst nickname ever because I looked like the Nutty Professor. I had the afro and everything. Like, this is the part of the podcast where like I give you the picture and you put it on and you show everybody, but I was called a professor. So that kind of, even with that, it was like one of those things where I took on the moniker, I guess, if you will, if that's what you call it, but of being like the nerdy kid, right? But then people nurtured it and I was okay with it. You get what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, my dad rewarded good grades. So if I, received good grades, I could get video games. So to me, it's like, oh, this is easy. I'm about to knock out all these grades because I want the new X, Y, and Z video game. So for him, it was kind of like, once again, I don't know if he knew directly, but that kind of kept me going passively, right? Because I can go, get good grades, do all this computer stuff, and then I can go play Madden. You know what I mean? Like when I learned that the internet has so much information, it was just like, dude, I can learn anything I want. Was when, I don't know if you're into wrestling, but the spoilers for wrestling. I don't know if you were into wrestling and things like that, but they used to tape it on like a Tuesday, and then show it on Thursday. So my brother, he used to come home with like the spoilers, but he's older than me. So he's come home with the spoilers. So when he graduated, I'm like, man, how am I supposed to figure this out? So I think you still could do it. You can go and like search for wrestling spoilers. And like if SmackDown comes on, I think like on Thursday, Friday now, if they tape it on a Tuesday, somebody will write up everything that's going on. So I used to print the spoilers out and take them to school. Like, I know The Rock gonna lose today. You know, I should have bet everybody, but I wasn't doing all that. But it's like The Rock gonna lose, and he gonna lose because Chris Jericho is gonna put him in the walls of Jericho. You know what I'm saying? But then that made other people kind of champion, like, man, Terrance, how you know this? X, Y, and Z. And then like I knew the things to get on Facebook and MySpace. So I think, like I said, passively, I think everyone around me nurtured me into being like the tech person of like,
He was the
that
hacker.
people know. Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was sort of speak. Yeah, honestly. So I used to go through and yeah, it used to be crazy. Like because the proxies used to go away. Like Chicago public schools used to find out, and then they used to like delete them. Then I have to go find a new one. So every time I come to school, it's just like, oh, I got the new link. Like you got to go talk to parents for the new link for, how to get on MySpace and stuff like that. So yeah, just all that stuff was. I think, like I said, I don't know if anyone knew they were doing it directly, and like I would be, where I am today. But I think it's one of those things where it takes a village. And I feel like that village at each point where I kind of was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I went to school and I was undecided. And then they said that information systems was one of the highest paying majors in the business college. I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I can't go back home to Chicago. So I like computers, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna go into information systems. And that kind of just life kind of nurtured me down that path type of thing. So that was a long way of kind of explaining. Hopefully that makes sense.
Everybody overlooked information systems at my school. I was definitely overlooking. Like we didn't know nothing. One of my friends in information systems, and he ended up coming out I was spoiled it a little bit, but
okay.
If you get in tech coming out, if you in college or if you thinking about changing careers, the tech field is in demand so much.
Absolutely.
And when you come out of college, you have no choice but to be in the 70, 80 range because they
Absolutely.
have demand. So you might land a job straight out of college, 22, 23 years old, 150, 120, if you know what you're doing. Like, no gas, like this not no gas. And then once you keep it going up,
it's only up from there. Yeah, man. It's
making it happen. Terrance had me messed up. He said, yeah, you want to come to my house? I said, yeah. He said, we about to have some girls, about to drink and everything. I said, all right, yeah, I'm gonna come over there. I go to his house, he downtown Fort Lauderdale, he view, and I'm like, wait. I live around the corner. It ain't like it's around the corner. Around the corner. So I'm like, oh man, and then I'm like, because we young, we young black. I'm like, how much? The infamous question, how much it costs to stay here? He like, yeah, I'm not even gonna tell you because you're gonna think I'm stupid. That's what he said.
Yeah, man. I still feel like I was stupid for that. But no, I think man, for anyone that's interested in being in tech, because I get hit up all the time, especially now, about people saying that they want to switch to tech and X, Y, and Z. They say they want to, program and, learn a coding language, which I can get into that because it's literally learning a language, right? Like I don't want to, like if you wanted to learn Spanish, what it would take to learn Spanish. It's kind of like you're learning a language. You're learning how to use a certain type of syntax in order to program a software application in order to speak to the computer. So it's not a trivial task. While they've made it 10 times easier from when I came out of college. When I say that, like I'm not a programmer by trade at all, and I still don't really program. I've kind of worked my way out of that, to be honest, because while I am a tech, I feel like I'm not a tech, like I'm not the stereotypical tech, right? I feel like I know the programmers that, have the personality where they don't want to talk to people. They want to just program and, they're kind of to themselves. I like to talk to people. I love to talk to people. And I also like tech. So I've kind of found my niche in doing that. But for anybody that want to do tech, I always say you definitely should do it. I feel like it is the way of the world as of now. Even if you get into it and you don't become a programmer, like you said, it's a lot of different jobs that just the fact that you have the knowledge of being technical, or you're okay with learning something new every single day, then it's like, well, tech can be the job for you. And to be like, I don't mind talking numbers. Back then I was probably a little bit embarrassed, or for good and bad. But coming out of college in 2012, I was like 2011, 2012. My first job, I was making 50,000, like just straight out, like not knowing nothing. Like literally, like I just graduated, and they were just like, here, and I was like, what am I supposed to? I was an RA, so I never even lived off campus, so I was like, wait, this is real money. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? So yeah, so that was crazy. But for anybody that's interested in it, I do always suggest you have a passion for what you're doing. If like tech is a huge umbrella. So if just to break it down, like, so I don't know if you still, but and I don't want to give too much information, but it's just like finance and numbers, right? Like, so you can work at a software company and be tech that does financial things, right? And that way you're leveraging that financial mindset that you got over here, but it's in tech. So now I'm going to pay you like you're in tech, but it's for financial, like QuickBooks, right? I'm really trying to go off the top, like QuickBooks, TurboTax, all these things that can do accounting or any type of someone that does. I think people forget when you use any type of software, there was a subject matter expert that helped program that software, right? So for healthcare, when I used to work in healthcare, when I was at IBM, there were doctors that were using this technology. So there's a doctor in the room that's making sure that the software works. You get what I'm saying? So, but if I'm the tech, I'm going to have to learn a lot about healthcare in order to program or configure software for that industry. So I always tell people, it's just kind of like, man, you can get into tech just based off your experiences in somewhere else. You just got to know how to sell yourself over here. And I feel like a trigger is to say that you're willing to learn, you know what I mean? Because tech changes all the time. Like what I always tell people, what I learned in college, I didn't do any of it when I got out of college. It was just like a piece of paper because tech changes so quickly. So when I started that job that we were just alluding to, it was so much stuff that I had to learn everything because my college didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't go to like Harvard or anything like that. So I didn't go to Stanford, which is like, big on computer stuff. So we using books from professors from other schools. So by the time we learning it and I graduate, they're like, yeah, we don't really do it like that no more. Like that's not cutting edge. And you're like, well, you talking about the degree I'm paying on? That I'm still, not anymore, but like that I'm paying on, like, I wait, this doesn't matter. Like, yeah, we don't do that anyway. Like, no, I just learned this 3 months ago. Like, I mean, are you going to learn this, what I have now? Because I need you to do this. It's like, yeah, I'm going to learn that and what you want me to learn. But I think that's the trick, right? Is that there's a lot of positions in tech. You don't have to be a programmer. I think people think of tech as just being a programmer. No, not at all. As long as you can bring some type of value to an industry, and then you're okay with learning new things every day that will be tech oriented, then you can work in tech. So I can probably pull somebody off the street and just say, what's your background? And then say, oh yeah, there's an app for X, Y, and Z. Have you looked at that company that does that app? Because they probably need you as a subject matter expert. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then now
it's called subject matter expert.
Yeah, a SME. We would call it a SME. Yeah, SME. So subject matter.
So look, he just gave y'all the sauce. You can be a subject matter expert at tech companies and make the bag. Get to the bag. Because I don't know what you was doing when you was in Fort Lauderdale. He didn't even live there. He had a job. I don't know what you did, but I thought he was, I ain't gonna lie to you, when I first met him, I thought he was like, he's from Chicago too. I was like, I thought he was a scammer or something. Like he was never there. And he always, he had Snapchat back then. Every time I get on the Snapchat, I'm at work, Saudi at my desk, I'm on Snapchat. He in San Diego, Snapchat, he in Phoenix, I'm Snapchat, he in Seattle, Minnesota. I'm like, Las Vegas. I'm like, where do you work at? I thought you worked down here. He like, I travel every day. I said, you travel every day? How do I get this job?
Yeah,
how do you do stuff like that? How can they get into stuff like that?
No, absolutely. So, man, the eBuilder days, I think I traveled more for eBuilder than I did IBM. But so what I did specifically, what I was doing was, so this is a perfect example, but the reverse way. So instead of me being a subject matter expert in a particular like industry, I was the tech guy and I just jumped over to a specific industry. So just to kind of set that, I guess, that primer. So I had a degree, or I have a degree in information systems. The company I worked for in Florida was a construction management software company. If anybody watching this knows what that is, then great. But a lot of people didn't have no idea what is a construction management company. So what it was, so repeat builders. So you think about the individuals that build malls all across America, schools. These are people that do construction and build things all the time, right? So what happened is, construction is literally the oldest industry in the world. So what that means is that it is not really in the 21st century, meaning that it's not digitally optimized. So it's not digital, meaning that they don't have a lot of software oriented to construction companies. So what it was that my company in Florida was a SaaS company, which is a software as a service, meaning that you didn't have to let's just say download it to your computer. Most most applications nowadays are software as a service. You just use them through the internet. So what that means is that what I did was I went into a company that was a repeat builder. So I'm trying to think of some bigger names. I could, for people that are on the West Coast, Kaiser Permanente. So that's a hospital out there. Yeah, so I had a hospital out there. I had the Metro Transit, which was the bus transit of Minneapolis. I had a couple of schools, so University of San Diego. I had the university. So that's funny when you were saying all those cities. I was going through my head what the projects I had there. But so all these different people that build things repeatedly, they wanted to adopt using software, which it used to be weird because I would walk in a meeting, and you remember me back in 2016, 15. I used to dress a certain type of way. So I'll walk into like people got on hard hats and all this stuff, and I'm like the whiz kid that come in and saying like, yeah, you know how you fill out those papers every day, like general contractors, and so on and so forth. You ain't doing that no more. Take out your phone, take out your laptops. This is how we're gonna go through. And you're gonna submit stuff. Some people absolutely loved it. Other people absolutely hated it. But the real thought was that I did it, like I said, the reverse way. So I was a tech guy that went into a new field. So I had to learn. Like calling something a GC. You know what I mean? Like, what's a GC? It's a general contractor. Let's just say, I'm trying to think of the different terms, but I had to go and learn all these different terms that were in the construction field. And I just went through and I configured the software that they were going to use, every day. So I'm talking about on their mobile devices, on their computers. It was a lot of different things that we did to the point where, I was giving presentations on it. Like you said, it was, if I lived in Florida, if I was in Florida, 31 days, I was gone a minimum half the time I was there. Like everybody used to joke that I used to, like my apartment, I paid so much for it. And it was just a storage container, right? Because like I was never there. It was kind of like at all. So it was great. I used to take day trips to New York. So the Department of, DEP, it was Department of Energy or somewhere in New York, I forget the company, something in New York. It was one of our biggest companies. I used to take day trips to New York. So I would be in Florida, wake up at like 5 o'clock, fly to New York, have a meeting, like literally a meeting that I could have did virtually, like we're doing it right now. Have that meeting, probably get yelled at because people in New York are people in New York, and they don't really hold anything back. And then by that night, I'm back, flying right back to Florida, kicking it with my, what I'm saying. So it was just kind of like, I remember one time it was doing Halloween specifically. I went to a couple of different cities in that day. Like it was just kind of like a random, and then it was like New York, Boston, and then I was like in Miami for the rest of the night. You know what I'm saying? We was in Wynwood somewhere, and it was just kind of, I don't know how I was outside. But yeah, that's one of the things. So what happens is, why did I travel so much? Is because typically you want someone on site when they're learning about your business. So I'm talking to, CTOs, CEOs, line of business individuals that are talking about all their processes, right? And then I'm going through and like recording them, making sure that it makes sense. And then I'm taking all the information, then I'm putting it into the system so that, when they click some buttons, everything, it's routed how it's supposed to route. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you're in the room with those individuals. And my company, this is, they were purchased a couple of years ago, right before I left, or right after I left, which I don't talk about the money. You're talking about getting to a bag and missing it. I've done that a couple of times, but so I completely missed that bag. But so yeah, they were purchased. Companies thought that they were doing everything really well, which they were for that particular field, right? So I'm talking
so
like in Florida.
You go into these smaller companies, they give you ownership opportunity.
Yeah, that's I missed it. That's
you
what I'm
blew
talking about. I literally, I blew it. I blew it. It's cool. It came back around eventually, but no, it was crazy. I literally remember my manager. So he's from Barbados. Yeah, that's where Rihanna's from. He's from Barbados, which we didn't talk about Florida and the melting pot of everybody's from the islands, but he's from Barbados, and I'm talking about somebody from New York that cut, that don't, just give you straight up. And I'm not saying because he's from Barbados, that's why he did it. It was just that I picture him doing it in his accent. So it's just kind of like, no, you can't leave. I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. He's like, no, you can't leave. And he was straight faced. I'm like, what do you mean I can't leave? He was like, no, you can't leave. He was like, he closed his office door like, you cannot leave. I'm like, why? He was like, trust me, you don't leave right now. I ended up leaving, but I missed it because we were getting shares at that point. And then, but that was the thing. I would have to wait a little bit longer, right? So you get the shares, and then they sold to that other company probably like 4 or 5 months later, and I was ready to go. So that's why I said you really got to be passionate about what you do when you're in tech, because I took a swing at it again, and I didn't like the actual software. I love what I did. I love the training. I love to be able to listen to music all day and configure stuff. I love I absolutely love to travel because that's free food. Like my refrigerator never had anything in it because I used to eat on the road.
I know your points was on smack
Yeah.
for
Oh yeah, yeah.
airline
My
and
points.
hotel.
Yeah, yeah. It was super crazy. So, but back then, man, I feel like you always should. I'm gonna say not always listen to people, but always take into consideration people that know more than you. Because my first year there, I had no allegiancy to an airline. So I'm flying all over the country on every different airline. Yeah, I don't tell people about this a lot because I messed up a lot. So I'm talking about I was on Delta. I was at mid tier on everything. I'm talking about even Spirit. Like I used to book my flights too late. So, you know, they'd be like, Terrance, you're flying to Minnesota next week. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then it's Monday, and it's like, yeah, you need to be here Tuesday. And the only flight I can get is a Spirit flight. Then I'm flying Spirit. So I'm getting all these crazy points from Fort Lauderdale to Minneapolis on Spirit. But the second year I was there, I signed up for all the reward points. So if you take anything from what we're talking about today, if you travel, sign up for the reward points because I'm a Hilton Diamond member now. I have over 100,000 miles on American because that's now that I just stick with American. So there's a lot of different things
You
that
pull
I've been
up to
able
the
to do.
Hertz, get the Lambo.
Yeah, no, yeah, for real, man. Like, so I did Hertz for a little bit. National is where I am now. I think I flipped back to National. But yeah, sign up for all of those things. Even if you use it passively, still sign up because if you use it passively over a year, you walk in and then let's just say, like, I've been in Vegas and literally forgot to book my hotel. Like, I won't wish that on anybody, but I literally forgot to book my hotel. But when you're a Diamond member in Vegas, I mean, when you're a Diamond member for Hilton, they have to give you a room. Like I'm saying, we have our own hotline where it's just kind of like, hey, I need a room tonight. And they'll be like, we got you. So that's one of those things where you should definitely sign up and use it, right? Like if you like Hilton, you like Marriott, whatever you like, sign up for it. It takes like 15 minutes. Now things does autofill anyway. So it's just like you put, you know, your name, everything fills out. So absolutely, my bad. I know that was, you know, kind of a lot. So
You good. You went from Fort Lauderdale working at the tech company, then you end up leaving.
yeah, I left. I went back to Chicago.
Back to the
Which,
shop.
yeah, man, which I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really get into it at the beginning, but even today, how to think about it, but growing up in Chicago is really tough. Not well in all aspects, everything that you see on TV, everything that you see in the news, just all of that is real life. I feel like sometimes we get like when it's not about us or we don't know it directly, it doesn't exist in real life. You know, like unfortunately, something that happens overseas, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I see that's happening. Oh yeah, I see it on my phone. You know, pray for this country, and then you go about your day. But those are real people, you know what I mean? And that's what I want to kind of say about Chicago. So people Chirac, all this, that, and others, just like I get it, and it's glorified. I don't want to say glorified, but it kind of is. It's glorified, or it's spoken about in rap music, and they're just trying to tell their story, and then it's glorified by everybody else. You know what I mean? So then it becomes this circle that we can't get out of. But so yeah, I grew up in Chicago. So I didn't like Chicago growing up. Like I'm not gonna even, man, look at here. People knew it too. It wasn't like a big thing. So that's why I didn't go back to Chicago when I left. Because I mean I went to Indianapolis, right? So I left school and went to Indianapolis versus Chicago. I could just go back home and work for all of the tech companies that are in Chicago, which is way more than Indy. But I didn't want to because Chicago was tough. I feel like I feel like in my life, unfortunately, and what I've learned that this isn't normal throughout traveling and meeting a lot of people is like there's a difference between someone dying and someone getting killed, right? Someone dying is like you died, you passed away. Someone killed is like you were just here. You weren't supposed to be gone yet because someone else decided to take you away. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, man, I'm talking in Chicago, I think I seen like my first like person that was killed probably when I was in 7th and 8th grade, right? Which is weird. It's just like, why am I so young seeing like guy on the corner, you know, killed? Like now I want to say dead, right? Because I've dealt with death super early in my life as well, or not dead, but passed away. But to see like, oh, he was around here today and then someone else decided to take them away from here, that's a completely different feeling than someone passing away, right? In my thoughts. So I don't want to offend anybody, but in my thoughts. So growing up in Chicago was really rough because I mean, it's one of those things where there's so many males that I know, like men that weren't even men yet that aren't here anymore because of someone else, right? And for me, it was like I was always the smart air quotes. I put air quotes, right? Because that's what, you know, relatively. I was always the I want to say the smart kid. I was just like, the focused kid. Everything has air quotes, right? Because it just depends on what you think about it. So that's what I was tagged with. So because of that, I kind of stayed out of the way. Not kind of, I did stay out of the way. Even to the point where, people knew me as the smart kid. So when things used to happen, they like, no, don't mess with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't do this. He's, you know what I'm saying? Which, thank God, because I went to a rougher, if anybody from my high school is going to watch this, is like, I went to a rougher high school, which, they would attest to, it's completely true. So what that means is that I didn't like Chicago at all. Like, besides my family, I didn't like Chicago. When I left Chicago, and I used to ask my family, like, why are we in Chicago? Like, I'm traveling now. It's just like, bro, let's leave. Like, where do y'all want to go? Like, let's go anywhere. We don't have to be in Chicago. Why are we here? So that was like how I felt. So as the story goes, I left, once again, the blessings, right? Sometimes you don't know their blessings. And like I said, I have this over and over in my life, but I left eBuilder, and then I was hired at IBM, which is a bigger software company, and they relocated me. And how the relocation worked is crazy how life works, because I could have went to, let me see if I can still remember, I could have went to New York, Atlanta, Dallas, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, LA, and Chicago. I think it was 7 spots, right? Chicago, I didn't even want to, and we picked these, right? So when you're interviewing, they say, where do you want to go? Not like, we're putting you here, like, where do you want to go? And I think I put, honestly, which is ironic where I am now, but I think I put Dallas, DC, Atlanta, and literally on my last interview, the lady asked me, like, so these are the places you want to go? And I was like, oh, put Chicago in there. What? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I have family there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big family person. Well, I would like to think of myself as a big family person, but so I put Chicago on there, and literally didn't know the lady that I was interviewing with was a hub manager for Chicago. Mm-hmm. So we did.
She loved you,
like
bro. It's like, yeah,
picked me, man. Like, she literally picked me, and it's like, I'm like, and when I found out later, she was a K and everything. So we had that whole, type of thing going on too. But she picked me to come back to Chicago. She's like, oh, you're going to love it. This, that, and the other. She was like, when you're hired, let me know. I'm like, okay, I don't know if you're supposed to say that. But so she picked me, and I left my dream location, which was Florida, and life brought me all the way back to Chicago. And honestly, I'm forever grateful for that. Like, looking back, so for the people that don't know, I just moved to Washington, D.C. from Chicago less than a month ago. So probably by the time this airs, it'll be probably like, 2 months, whatever. But it's just kind of like, literally, I left on December 20th, and right before Christmas, and left Chicago and moved to DC. So I'm currently sitting in DC now. But I was in Chicago for 5 years, and I feel like it was, redemption is the word. I feel like Chicago needed to redeem itself, because I seen a completely different side of Chicago. I grew up on the West Side. I was able to, from working, really hard, I moved back to the West Side for a year, which I would never advise anyone. The life that we spoke about earlier in this podcast, where
you went back to the hood.
Are we doing this? I went back to the hood 100%. And so this is for the people that know Chicago. I grew up off Chicago Avenue, but maybe that's all I gotta say. On the West Side, Chicago Avenue and Central Park. So when I say went back to the hood, I think it's like that part of the West Side is like, that's all I'm gonna say. So I went back to that, right? My dad, fortunately enough, owns a building over there. So I went back to that, and I was there for a year. So it wasn't even like a thing where I'm kind of there. It was like, nope, I live. So my dad owns a 2-flat, and I didn't even stay in an apartment that he has. I stayed with him in Chicago. Like, we're roommates now, right? So it was like, I went from that back to the crib. I still traveled a lot for IBM. I still traveled all over. So that was like, the breath of fresh air. I'm still traveling, not there a whole lot. But the fact is, I went from like living the dream, to back at home. And it was just like, but wait a second, everything's supposed to, get better. So I did that for a year, but then I ended up finding a place downtown Chicago. And then that's when Chicago took on a life of its own. Yeah, so downtown Chicago is everything you could think of. It's like, if anybody likes New York or been to New York, it's like that, but clean. That's the first thing. And then just everything is just right there at your fingertips. I don't know if it's better. So New York is huge, right? It has more to do with. We have a downtown that's way smaller than all Manhattan and all this stuff. And then New York has all the boroughs too, right? So you can go to experience different things. But Chicago, I feel like it depends on the person. I know people that would absolutely say Chicago is better than New York, like without even blinking. Like, are you serious? Chicago's like way better. New York, you get the same experience in New York. I've heard this in New York, but cheaper in Chicago because New York is the greatest city on earth, right? Once again, air quotes, but people feel that way. Chicago, the downtown is like super clean. Like New York doesn't have alleys. A lot of people don't know this, or like traditional alleys. So you put your trash on the street. You know what I mean? Like that already is, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like I've been in New York. I tell you to go all the time. And I'm seeing like
that's why they go all the
like,
rats.
That's why all the rats. Not even that's why they have them. That's why you see them. Chicago has rats too, but they're in the alleys. In New York, they're like at least, especially the parts I've been, like Manhattan and all that stuff. That's why you see them, is because they put their trash on the street. So I mean, Ninja Turtles, you know, that's why they're popping up the sewers right there on the street, because they don't have alleys. A lot of other cities do. But so Chicago is clean. Chicago has a splash of architecture that's like amazing. When I say that, like for those that, I mean, that don't follow me on Instagram, but people that do, I used to have a phenomenal view. And the thing is like Chicago was like old and new right next to each other, sometimes on top of each other, to where a building would be like just say Greek looking, like Roman, like with columns and stuff. Then all of a sudden it got glass like right next to it. There's this place called the London House Chicago. If you all want to take a look at that, I would say Google it. But my apartment, when you see that picture of London House, my apartment looked at the picture that they showing you in London House. So I'm like right there looking at where everybody's taking pictures. So from my window, I see everybody on the rooftops taking pictures. I live right next to Trump Tower. I know he's not, you know, everybody has their thoughts on him, but the building that he has is a beautiful building. I don't know him as a person, but the building is amazing. So the view that I had was super dope. So I literally went, I always tell people, and people like, either they just laugh it off because they know who I am, or they might take serious. But I always say, like, I live the life that rappers talk about. You know what I mean? Like I literally left the hood and now I'm downtown in this condo. Like, this is crazy. But then when I go see my family, or specifically my dad, he still owns the building in the hood. So now I'm just like, dude, like you see the same guys on the street that I grew up around or whatever, that I just, wasn't close to these particular guys. I'd have been all around, and then I still see you. And it's just like, man, I just want to go up and talk to you. And then maybe sometimes I should have, but I was reaching out in other ways. But it was just kind of like one of those things where it's just kind of like, dang, life is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so, but moving back to Chicago, I definitely became closer with my family. I definitely appreciate Chicago, and I understand Chicago. And I understand people more by living in Chicago, because as the story goes, right before the pandemic, I was looking to buy a condo, like literally looking at condos, couldn't find one. My lease was up. So then I'm like, cool, I'm gonna just travel like weekly. At this point, I could travel like every week for work if I wanted to, because I was in sales at IBM. So I could make my own schedule, be like, cool, I'm out, I'm in LA today talking to this customer, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I could be gone. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna move back to my dad's house until I find a condo. And then the pandemic happened. So I was at my dad's house again until I just left. So I went from in the hood downtown for 2 years, back to my dad's house for 2 years. Up until like when we've been talking recently, I was back at my dad's crib, but once again, it's a 2-flat. So I lived in an apartment upstairs. So, and then my dad's the landlord. So it's just kind of like, I could do what I want, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like bad, but it was just like every day, like, I don't even know if anybody has to go through or been through this, like living what I would say the hood, right? You can call it whatever you want, but living in the hood, but talking to CEOs. It's just like, it's crazy to be on a meeting just like this. And I'm like, yeah, we're talking about digital business automation, and, talking to like, yeah, no, yeah. And people outside arguing. I'm glad you think it's funny. And they arguing, or not even at that moment they're shooting, but I can go from that, chill out, eat something, and then later on that night they shooting. And I'm like, bro, this is crazy. Like, does anybody on the planet has to go through this? Like right now, does anyone on the planet have to go through this, where you're like, you know what I'm saying? You're at I would say you're working your way up in your career and your profession, but then you're right outside from where you grew up. And it's I want to just say less than a desirable area. I understand the area. I want to say I don't condone any of the stuff that, happens, but I mean, it is what it is. So it's just kind of like, and it's right out the window. I'm talking about, and I don't want people to understand when I say it's right out the window, I'm not exaggerating, right out the window. I'm talking about like right out the window. Like, you know, you got the police light on the pole down the street that I live on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like this area is once again less than desirable. So when people like, I don't know if people know this, but they have like a shot thing on there, which I learned, which means that they put it there so that when the police, if someone shoots, it sends it to the police, where the police knows that like, okay, in this area someone shot a gun. So not only they have the cameras, they have the shot, that's what it's called, shot detection too. So they put it on the street I'm staying at because people shoot around there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. This is like real life where I'm sitting on a computer, this very computer I'm on, and I think about it, having these conversations, and I'm delivering presentations for IBM, and right outside my window they're shooting. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, this is crazy. And then let's just say, well, at that point, let's just say a month ago, I'm downtown in a skyscraper. What? How does this work? But everything, I feel like everything happens for a reason, man. I think like it's one of those things where I don't have to necessarily, I always say I don't have to put my hand on the stove to know it's hot. And I didn't even have to like talk to people. But like when you see someone every day and you just see like what I've been fortunate enough to experience, and you know, people don't know me, you know what I'm saying? If you want to talk about code switching, I code switch completely, because it's kind of like I want to say on the block, like, you know, but if you want to, like, I'm on the block now, so I can't go outside with the same, you know, hi, my name is Terrance. And then it's, you know, bro that, you know, is going through circumstance. I always call it circumstance. It's going through circumstance in his life. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand it. I'm not one of those people that have, I feel like I'm not one of those people that have made it to certain heights, and life has made it to where I don't forget where I come from. I just left 3 weeks ago. So it's just kind of like, I don't ever, you know, say like, oh, I don't understand, or like, you know, people are like, you know, Black people need to better themselves in X, Y, and Z. And every year it'd be like, bro, you made it out. What about everybody else? That ain't the same thing. And I feel like we forget that it's not only circumstance, but it becomes mental. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, I'm not gonna, you know, I could, you know, go outside and be like, you know, all dappered up and do this and do X, Y, and Z, but now that's, you know, unsolicited attention. It's like, who is this dude? You know what I'm saying? Like I could have definitely bought a new dope car, but then I was like, well, who's this dude on the block with the Beamer? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know him. He doesn't talk to us. You know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like, for me, it's just like, I think what I'm trying to say is like, I kind of humbled myself as well. So when I met those dudes, you know what I'm saying, or I do speak to individuals, it's kind of like, hey, what's going on? It's not like, you know, I'm not talking to you. I always speak, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, what's going on? They're like, none, chilling, you know what I'm saying? I'm cold switching like, I'm like, no, I feel you, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. Like, everything cool though? Like, oh yeah, we good. Like, all right, right on. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to dig into it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna, you know, just, what is it, kind of be off-putting as well. Because I know that I'm doing well, air quotes, once again, in my career in X, Y, and Z, but I don't have to do that at someone else's, you know, detriment or downfall, or say that I'm better than anyone else. It's just kind of like, if they ever came up to me and was just like, yeah, bro, what you do? I always see you with a suitcase. I tell them like, oh yeah, I work for tech, bro. You ever thought about it? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like when you have honest conversations with people, then honest things come out, and people are way more vulnerable with strangers than they are their best friends. So it's just kind of like, I'll have those conversations. But where I was is also where it's just like, I ain't having too many conversations because you know, I don't know
hey.
circumstance, you know what I'm saying, like what you went through today either. So it's just kind of like, I'm gonna chill out. You know what I'm saying? So I speak to everybody, do X, Y, and Z. Some people more than others, but it was just like one of those things where I felt as if I'm, you know, where I am, and I don't have to be, you know, the next, you know, well, I did do motivational speaking, all that stuff, and tried to give back to the community. But like in that block, I don't have to be the next person that's like, oh, I'm here to change everybody's lives. I can do that by, when I go to the local grocery store, open a door for someone. I know how those little things are. Like I open the door for pretty much everybody. But it's just kind of like, I mean, if I had $1 for every time I open the door for an older woman, it's just like, oh my God, men don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? To me, that was good. You get what I'm saying? Like little stuff, because where the neighborhood is and circumstance is like, you don't see that every day. Everybody is going through their own situation. So I'm not going through that. So if anyway, I always say, be nice to people and stay out of the way. That's like when I was living there for 2 years, that was like my thing, is like, I'm gonna be nice to everybody and I'm gonna stay out of the way. If someone comes up to me and want to have a conversation, I'm cool with it. But at the same time, it's just like, if I tell you that like, oh, what you do today, and it's just like, oh yeah, man, I was on a call with the CEO from X company. I just sold him multi-million-dollar software. What you was on? It's just like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I'm chilling. So, but at the same time, as it relates to talking to people and people that I genuinely know, that I went to high school with, I'm not even people. I'm a phone call away. I'm a DM on Instagram away. You know what I'm saying? Like literally. And sometimes I do, and I can attest to this, I do better than other times at responding and reaching out. But when I do respond and reach out, more often than not, it's always genuine. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, I don't like, once again, it's all circumstance. I feel like it's all based on, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it's just today I'm going to, be nice to people. And if I can provide more, I will, if I feel like it's right. But if not, then I'm going to stay out the way. I don't need to, you get what I'm saying, get caught up in anything, because you can drive around the block and I don't even exaggerate. I wish I was exaggerating. And you can literally get caught in crossfire, which I almost did. You know what I'm saying? I don't even get in that story. And it's just like, bro, what? I was literally in New York today. How did I almost get shot? What? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, does anyone in my profession have to go through this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. But I think, once again, moving back showed me the other side of people, meaning that, I'm not saying everybody makes the right decision, but sometimes it's circumstance. Sometimes it's like you just can't, like, it's like the pursuit of happiness. We always think of Will Smith and that one guy. There's people that don't get the happiness part at the end. You know what I'm saying? He's crying, he's doing that. You're like, oh my, at that point, you're like, Will Smith, he's no longer the Fresh Prince. He's like, he's that guy now. People don't have that happy ending. Why don't we ever talk about that? Like, even for me, like, I worked my butt off to get to where I am now. There's people that don't have that happy ending. As we're talking, they're still at the job they hate. They're still in circumstances that's not ideal. They you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't talk about that. We only glorify the people that, right? I mean, we glorify the people that make it out, but we never talk about the people that are still in those circumstances. So in my head, it's just kind of like, I'm going to stay out of the way. Like, especially, I was talking to my dad. We were in a car on the west side. And my dad is so, mild-tempered. Like, he doesn't get angry, at all. But when he does, it's like heckle and jive type of thing. But so this guy blew at him. And for some reason, my dad exploded. Like, like, to me about him, I'm like, Dad, you got to calm down. You know what I'm saying? He's like, no, that don't make sense. I'm like, no, I 100% agree with you. I agree with you, but you don't know what that man went through. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really don't know what he went through today. And you blowing at him or doing whatever, he could explode. And I always joke about this with my girlfriend, is that, like, everybody's always say from the hood is like, oh, I got, my gun or the pole burn, or whatever you want to call it, or what they call it nowadays. They always say I have that. And I always say, like, who said you gonna get to that though? Like, it doesn't always get that far, bro. Like that means you gotta go for, you know what I'm saying? It's so many motions to you to defend yourself. And people don't think about that. They think that I have it and I'm good. And it's just like, no, dog, it takes a lot of motions. And like, can you aim? Like, we gotta, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but in my head, it's like, why am I even thinking about this? Like, why is this a thing in my universe? It is. But what I was telling him, to bring it back, is that you never know what people are going through. And you should always be, conscious of that, right? So, like I said, be nice to people, kind of stay out of the way. And I made it out of Chicago for a second time, or 3 times out of the west side for the 3rd time. But I think that's what I did. And I'm so sorry, that was a lot of information, so I apologize. But yeah.
You good. You showing a demonstration of love your neighbor like you love yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you never judge those people's circumstances. All you there to be of help if they needed it. You also didn't try to, oh, y'all need to be doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Or y'all need to, let me teach y'all something. You was genuinely like, look, I don't know what you go through, but I'm here if you need it, type deal. Like, and Jesus said, he said, they asked him, when the Pharisees came to him, they said, well, which law is above the other? He say, love God, put no gods before him, and love your neighbor like you love yourself. Everything else, I mean, it falls up under that, because if you don't do those things, how you expect to not steal from your neighbor? You feel what I'm saying? How you expect to not, you got your wife, how you expect to, you feel me, not be adulterer? How you expect to love your parents? You feel me? Like, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna covet each other. You're gonna kill each other. Like, if you don't do these things. So that's a prime demonstration, because you was just, you feel me? I know how much it costs. Everybody know how much it costs. You up there, so you can afford that. You come back down here, you could easily been acting a completely different way. Like, but
Yeah,
you was
man. My
humble.
dad owned the building.
Yeah,
So
you was
even, I
humble
mean,
enough to.
yeah, I could do whatever literally did whatever I want, try to, you know what I'm saying? But once again, I don't know. That's just not, I mean, that's just not who I am. While you could probably attest to, I can be lavish at moments. And really, you know what I'm saying? Like I genuinely, I don't know. I don't need to, what is it? How do I want to put it? I don't need to, my self-worth isn't tied to trying to put others down at all. You know what I mean? Like I literally said this today. It was this guy. He has he's an alpha actually where I live now, and he has like a BMW. And it was the type of thing where I was just like, oh man, he got money. You know what I'm saying? Like joking X, Y, and Z. And I was like, dang, I could buy a BMW. I don't even think. You know, I don't think about that to
Man,
myself. But
Terrance
I
is
see that.
the definition of, I'm not gonna call him frugal, I'm gonna say I call him diligent. He probably still got the same car.
I do.
I knew it. He still got the same whip.
Yeah, I love that car. I 100% have the same car. I've been called out on it before. Actually, people are like, you don't have a new car yet, but it's just like, I love this car. Like, why am I trying to satisfy? Like, I don't have to satisfy. Like it's not even my ego. It's like everyone else, like to appear a way to someone else. It's just like, no, I can do that in other ways. I don't have to spend it on a car, at least at this moment, in order to show other people how I have it. You get what I'm saying? Like I could do it with just like other stuff that I actually enjoy versus like I could go travel. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like, especially living in South Florida. It's just like you always, I don't say you always, but you do feel measured against other people. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those things where, yeah, I feel like you do, and it's just like, no, like walk your path. This is your path. You don't know, like on the other side of circumstance, you don't know where people came from. They probably have old money. You know what I mean? Like they dad could be the president of Haiti. You know what I'm saying? Like I have no idea. And it's just like now we had a party together, you throwing money, and then like I you know, me and you had the fortunate the blessing of being able to have money, but that doesn't mean we're gonna just to try to, you know, be with that other person, like just being careless with it. It's like, no, like I don't need those type of accolades. You want that, you can go to a rapper. You can see, I mean, Lil Durk does that. So just go follow him. Terrance doesn't, I don't need your comments to be like, yeah, it's like, no, I'm cool. But then when I do stuff like that, it's gonna be like, oh wow, that's what you was doing that whole time. I see you. That's why you hit your car. My car is completely paid off. I don't have a car note. You know what I mean? But it's just like it still gives me what I want out of having a car. So it works.
That's sweet though. So how you end up in DC? Like, so fast forward, you
Yeah.
DC now.
No, absolutely. Man, so I always say people always say it's like not what you know, it's who you know. I always say it's both. Like literally, it's not what you know, it's who you know, it's not who you know, it's what you know. So currently I work at Google. I'm a technical account manager for the government. So all my clients are, I mean, literally the White House, all these people. All this is on LinkedIn, so I don't mind sharing. It's not like confidential, but so yeah, so I work so as it relates to Google, I'm a representative for Google as to the not just to the White House, but to all the branches of government. So they're interested in Google technology. Either me or a couple other people, we're tasked with, let's just say we work for Google, but we're making sure that the government has everything they need as it relates to Google from a technical aspect. So what happened is I technically didn't have to move. The pandemic happened. I was hired during the pandemic. You talk about, just to bring it full circle, you talk about God and having faith and something that's bigger than yourself, because as the story goes, I retired from technology. I retired it was probably like 2-3 months. So I quit my job at IBM, literally quit. And I was like, yeah, I'm done with tech. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was the same as it relates to me in tech. It was just kind of like, I love working with people. I love the training aspect. I love, just working in tech. I don't necessarily love the tech that I'm working on. You know what I mean? So just to kind of bring it in, like, I'm a race car driver. I love everything to a race car driver. I hate the car I drive every day. You know what I'm saying? I love race car driving, but I just hate this car, man. Like, this ain't it. So I said I was going to retire. If you want to keep using I guess the analogy is that I was like, maybe there's something else that that's out there for me. So outside of tech, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm gonna just take a break from everything. But what had happened was I had started to interview for Google before my retirement. Google has a long interview process. So I'm talking about, and it's long and it's hard, to be honest. But so as the story goes, I was at IBM. I interviewed for Google in 2018. I literally remember when I
Wait,
did, like I was,
that's like 4 years ago.
Oh no. So it's multiple. Yeah, no.
Oh,
So,
wait.
like man, I was just 5 years it took to get there. No, but so I interviewed for the first position and I didn't get it in 2018, right? And then from there, I think I interviewed because I interviewed like 3 separate times. I think I interviewed again for something and I didn't. So I interviewed for once and I didn't get it. And then so as I worked at IBM for a while and my LinkedIn was really well, people started to reach out to me. So then a recruiter at Google, and this is a cheat code for anyone listening. This is my cheat code. If I want to work at a company, I go on LinkedIn. I have so many cheat codes. It's like, if you really want to dig into it, I could give everybody my whole layout. But I wanted to work at Google, so I added recruiters on LinkedIn from Google. To me, it just made sense. It's just like, add them on LinkedIn. Now, when I post about IBM, they're like, who's this guy that's posting all this cool stuff about IBM? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So now my ecosystem of people on LinkedIn became kind of Google-esque, right? So now I went from 0 people at Google to like 25 recruiters at Google are on my LinkedIn. Yeah, so that's the first cheat code. I can give you 12,000.
Wait. We gotta go into this a little. We gotta dive in. We gotta. Hey, they give him the sauce over here. Hey, God's my source. This God is our source, and God provides it. But the people suffer from a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, I agree.
He using LinkedIn like we using Facebook and Instagram, and he getting to the bags. What's going on? Like, talk to me.
Yeah, so all of my jobs except for one I received or got through the internet. So I'm a big proponent of the internet, like 100%. But so I added all those people on LinkedIn. So now my LinkedIn, when people at Google see my LinkedIn, they say like, how many connections you have, you know what I'm saying? Which it means nothing, or it could mean everything. Like, oh, he has 5 people that work at Google on his LinkedIn. He must know them. No, I don't. I just recruiter, click, add, whatever. I'm posting, doing my normal everything because it was a dream of mine to work at Google, like 100% a dream. I always say that working at Google is my MBA, like not MBA, but like NBA, like National Basketball Association, because like for where I'm from, it's a, hooping school, all athletes. But me coming from where I came to be at Google is just like, man, this is my league right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what player I am. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm a Steph or a LeBron, but I'm in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's good enough for me. So what happened was I added all those people. So she reached out to me, right? So I think it was one of the recruiters that I added. She reached out to me and was like, I think you'll be a good position for what I did at IBM, but at Google. And for Google, for the position I had at IBM, you have to be super technical. I'm pretty technical. I'm talking about you have to be like, they hire people from Harvard and Stanford. People from Harvard, Stanford, Yale, MIT are on my team right now. Like, I call them up and be like, yeah, what's up, bro? I'm in DC. You want to go get beers? Like, oh, where you go to school? I went to Harvard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are like my coworkers now. So they hire really intelligent people. So you had to be super technical. And I'm not that technical. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a techie. I still like to talk to people. I still like to do all this stuff. I'm not gonna like spend 3 days reading up on tech and not talk to anybody. I'll probably spend like a day and a half, but not, 3 days. So I interviewed for that same position that I interviewed for the first time. I knew what I was supposed to say, but I told her straight up, and this is knowing when things aren't for you, right? Like, even though it's a blessing, I knew what to say because I feel like I'm really good at interviewing. So I knew what to say, and I told her, I was like, you know what, I don't really want this position. Like, to be honest, I said, if you're willing, I would like to stay in contact with you, and if I find a position at Google that I really want to do, I would like to reach back out to you. And she said, I appreciate your honesty. She was like, we all want to go through this. Once again, people at Google they hire really smart and really emotional, intelligent people. At least as it relates to, work. I don't know about personal lives, right? But so she was like, I really appreciate that, X, Y, and Z. She said, absolutely reach back out to me. I said, bet. You know what I'm saying? So now in my mind, I got a friend at Google. I ain't got no recruit. I have a friend at Google that I knew like one other person that worked at Google at that time. I had a friend at Google. So then, so that was in like 2019. Yeah, that was in 2019. So 2020 comes around when I'm quitting and all this stuff. So in like July, right, like, so at this point, I haven't decided I'm quitting yet, but I'm like, I want to move on from IBM. So I hit her up. So, and I always tell people, like, I'm at the point now, and I told her that, I told everybody that I ever recruited with, I'm like, I'm done working jobs just to work them. I want to, do something I actually enjoy doing, right? Versus like, okay, I hate doing this. So then I'm talking about, you really want something. So on a page of Google, I think now they update it, but you only can get like 10 or 20 jobs that you can look at a time, right? You couldn't do the drop down and just see all jobs. So I went, man, I can't even. So if it was 10 per job, I went through like 20 pages of like looking through job recs, opening up tabs. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I might like this job. I might like this job. I might like this job. I went through so many jobs to say like, okay, what job do I actually want to do? You know what I mean? So then all these tabs are open. I found the job. It was technical account manager, where it's a spectrum, right? You can be super technical, and that's phenomenal. You can be kind of technical, which is still good, as long as you know how to figure things out and get the technical people, super technical people involved. I kind of land in the middle. So some stuff like, okay, this is way out of my league. And then some stuff like, oh no, I get that. I can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. So what I do now for the government, I'm kind of in that sweet spot. You get what I'm saying? So what happened was I reached back out to her, said like, hey, this is the position. She said, I'm going to send it to the guy that's hiring for this position, or that the guy, the recruiter, that what I do for this position right now. She sent him my resume, sent him everything. And he calls me up. He's probably the coolest recruiter I've ever spoke to in my life. I feel like me and him, he was like my friend after I got done. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is my bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? But so she sent him my stuff. He reached out, and I just went through that whole process of interviewing at Google again, which is a lot different because it's during a pandemic. So everything is virtual, which is, I would say, hard and easy. It's hard because how do I connect with someone virtually, right? Like, I know you know what I'm saying? I know you, we talked, I've, seen you, but when I don't know you, it's very hard to kind of like break that wall of like person on screen. So that was interesting, and I could tell you how I did that. But so that was tough. But then once again, this is gym number 2, I would say. What I learned was that I'm on a computer. Like, everything we do with computers is to make our lives easier. I just want to make sure everybody remember that. Everything we do is supposed to make our lives easier. So if I was to ask you right now, hey, we're interviewing, I say, tell me about yourself, right? The first thing you're going to do is you probably look, okay, where do I want to start? What am I going to say? How far back should I go in my thinking process? Oh, my resume. What's on my resume? Oh man, how do I explain that job? I don't want to miss. So you do all these things. I came up with this thing called the script, right? So I don't know if it's invented. It happens a lot in my life where I come up with an idea that I genuinely came up with, like in my head, and then like I'll go out into the world, and then someone else, thought of it. I'm like, dang, I thought of that, but I genuinely thought of it, right? So this probably exists, but for those who are listening, I 100%. This got me a job at probably arguably one of the hardest companies to get, be hired at, like literally on the planet, not just just like the universe that we exist. Google is, I would say, top 5 hardest to, be hired at. But so I have this thing called the script. And the script is literally like your resume, but in a first narrative, like a first person narrative. Meaning, so like when you ask me like my whole career, I fumbled over it a little bit. But in theory, how I interviewed was that I had my script. I have multiple screens like right here, right? Or I would put it right on the screen. So right now we're on Zoom, which we should have did Google Meet, by the way. But right now we're on Zoom. I would literally, like, I don't care about seeing mine, right? I don't care about seeing you. I have my whole script right here, and I'm reading it. And when you say, tell me, like, Terrance, tell me about yourself, I say, where do you want me to start?
Wait. You can do that on Google.
I'll send it to you. No. So you don't have to do it on. No, I'm saying we should just use Google Meet anyway. But no, what technically you can, to be honest. But that is some future stuff, right? But anyway, but what I would just minimize the person that I'm looking at, right? And because I didn't really care about them per se, like me seeing them. I used to have my script on my screen, very small, script on screen. And when you would say, tell me about yourself, I would go through my whole narrative, the entire thing from wherever. I'm like, so where do you want me to start? If you say from the beginning, I'm like, okay, cool. I majored in information. I could probably open it up right now and literally read it. But like, I'll send it to you after this. But it's like, I majored in information systems at Ball State, where I was on the dean's list. In college, I participated in, numerous organizations. I was everything that I kind of said earlier to you, and you're probably like, dang, T, how did you know all that off? I scripted it. So I have all of this written out. If they say, tell me about IBM, tell me what's eBuilder. Like, I can just be like, okay, yeah, and I'm scrolling. And then I'm like, cool, I'm at eBuilder. And then I'll just read like, okay, at eBuilder, I was a business, what was it? Information, what is it? See, now I'm forgetting, but I would say my title and what I did. And this is the trick. I always say this. When you interview and they say, tell me about yourself, this is the time where you give them like, why am I dope? Like I've shared this with probably like 30, 40 people now. But this is like your point to brag about yourself. Like, why am I hiring you? I'm writing everything that I could possibly think of on this script because I don't want to forget it. People get off interviews and they're like, I should have mentioned the fact that I was the CEO of the, what I'm saying? Just like, yeah, you probably should have mentioned that. Like I say, I'm everything that, like my highlight reel, go back to college, I was on the dean's list. I was involved. I was the president of this. This is where I learned how to talk to people that weren't of the same background as me. I would like that in somebody that's working with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool, I love that. And then like as an application consultant, I did this, talk about the tech stuff. But the thought is that your script runs through everything that's in your resume. So they're reading this as you're talking about it, but you're saying it in a way that makes it conversational. So I'm gonna send you mine. And when you read it, it's gonna sound like I'm talking to you. And I wrote it on that way on purpose. So I have like, ellipsis, dots, like pause here. You know what I'm saying? Like ask like, does that make sense? So at IBM, I was in sales. So I know how to like, you know what I'm saying? I know how to do this stuff. So I have pauses, like take a breath. I had an interview when I first did it, and the lady was like, you're talking way too fast. And she just was like blunt with it. I'm like, whoa, okay, awkward. So what I did was in my script, I have like, ask, does this make sense? Do you have any questions? Take a breath, slow down. You know what I'm saying? Like because they're not seeing it, I'm seeing it. So I'm literally reading it. You don't know, because I talk with my hands, so I'm throwing you off. I'm literally reading the screen. I might have to scroll a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I'm reading it. And then by the end of it, you say, do you have any questions? And they're like, no, I mean, I feel like you covered their whole interview. Like, tell me about a time when, tell me when you did this. I mean, sometimes they still ask those questions because they have to check boxes off. But you compared to anyone else they talked to that day, you're gonna stand out because you told them everything. Like somebody else might be a great interviewer, right? But when I just told you everything that I did, you're gonna see my name like, oh yeah, that was the guy that was on the dean's list. He was the president. He worked at that one company in Florida. He worked at IBM, where I tell them I was in sales school. Like all my highlights, like I would say like, I would say people always ask, like this is in my narrative, people always ask, what was your quota at IBM? So I said that in my narrative, like people always ask, and then I say it was $1 million and I exceeded that every year, all 4 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying these things so that when you're thinking like, how good is this guy? It's like, I'm telling you, so if someone's better than me, hire them, done. Because I'm making sure that all of my highlights are 100% there. So like for you, and I don't want to like, once again, get into your business, but it's like, I know you went to FAU, right? So it's just kind of like, I mean, your highlight reel, you'll be like, I study X, Y, and Z at FAU. You know what I mean? Where I learned, and then you go to their website and be like, what do you have your degree, your master's in, and paste it on that, and just be like, where I learned how to do this, how to do this, how to do this, and make it conversational. And now you spilling it, and then you practice it, and because you want the job, you just practice it like 10, 15 times, and you just read it, and it's about you. It's like your life. So if you get bored, it's like, well, go become more interesting. I don't know. It's like, it's your life. So that was to me the biggest cheat code, was having my script, because every time I was a new person interviewing me, I would ask, they would say, tell me about yourself. And I would say, where do you want me to start? Because you have my resume. And some people say, oh yeah, just tell me about IBM. Great. I would just scroll down and start from there. They say, tell me everything. I love that because I can, really go through everything. And now at the end of it, it's just like, oh man, this guy is like amazing. And they're like, that's like, when I read mine, that's how everyone should feel, like I'm amazing. So yeah.
The sauce.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't get a job at a major corporation after watching this interview, you did not yield to the voice of God. I was going to tell you that. You didn't yield to the voice of God because he just let it rain down. He just gave us the sauce. He just showed us how to get in the door.
Yeah.
virtually.
Yeah, virtual, all
And
virtual. I still,
and
go
run
ahead.
the whole rundown.
Yeah, I've only met two of my coworkers since I worked. So I'm super virtual. I met two of my coworkers. I've been at Google for a year and like 3-4 months. I've only met two of my coworkers because they were coming through Chicago. So technically, I've been at Google and I haven't even met anyone at Google yet. So you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like met anyone like in a work related instance at all. You know what I'm saying? So this is literally I got hired at Google all virtual. That was a part of the process, and then even negotiation, that whole process. So it was just kind of like I was in sales, so the sky was the limit on how much I made. Google has a set salary for my position, and they do analytics. So when you try to say like I want some more money, they're like, okay, go find it somewhere else because we know that we're paying you really well. But then being vulnerable, I reached out once again to it was actually it was Frat on LinkedIn that worked at Google, and I was just being vulnerable. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna find somebody that can help. And he was very receptive of helping me, man. And like I always tell him, like I gotta like to be transparent. I wasn't asking for a lot of stock or stock really, or a signing bonus. I spoke to him. He said, for anyone listening, he said a lot of people don't know this, but minorities and women are always underpaid at every company because we feel as if I just need a job. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I work at Google, man, like all my life, like this is gonna be great. And then you come in and they say, like, well, this is how much we paying. You like, okay, that was good. But man, I thought it was gonna be like, And I can attest to that. When I went to IBM, some of my coworkers that were hired with me were fresh out of college. I had 5 years worth of experience. I literally was making like one girl, I was making like I think it was like $5,000 a year more than. And I asked her, I'm like, bro, how did you do that? She was like, well, once she went to like an Ivy League school, right? So she knew how to like, she just wasn't taking, anything trash. But she was just like, I told them when they came with my first offer, I told them no. Like, oh, you could do that? She was like, yeah, I told them no. I told them I didn't want it. And I told them how much I wanted, and we met. So then we're at Google. I was like, okay, I already retired. So I was like, I have nothing to lose. So I, set my number. He told me to ask for a signing bonus. I massaged the number. Some things I asked more for, X, Y, and Z. And then I worked with my the person that I was being recruited, my recruiter, and she helped me as well. You know what I'm saying? So
What was
everybody
in
was
the
just kind of,
NBA for real? You was in the NBA for real,
yeah,
had a whole sports agent.
yeah, it was super crazy, bro. Like I didn't think about that. He was kind of like my sports agent. And it turns out his wife worked at Google too, and she's a K, but his wife worked at Google. So it's like, I always say, and this is funny because I say this a lot. I always say like I honestly, like I do a lot of stuff on my own, right? Which is true. I 100% do. At the same time, though, I feel like when things go my way, it's when I'm the most vulnerable, right? And if that's something that I feel like once again people should take away from this conversation is that I really feel now like Will Smith said that like everything you want is on the other side of fear, right? Like I'm a big Will Smith, his motivational side of him, and I feel like that's true. I feel like every time that I've been vulnerable in my life, something good has come from it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like even meeting you is one of those things where we're both in Florida and we kicking it, we both alpha, so you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like, like dang, I'm gonna say what's up to him. I think it was John Carlo, but I think he connected us, but it was just like, oh yeah, he from Cleveland. And then we don't even, I'd never been to Cleveland. And I'm like, oh, you from the Midwest. Now it's like, you from the Midwest? Like, yeah, that's a whole region of the United States. But it's just like, no, dog, we cool now. And then you lived in Fort Lauderdale. It was just like, but at some point, like it had to be like with us, like one of us had to text each other. I don't know who did it first, but somebody had to be like, yeah, bro, what you on? And you know what I'm saying? Now we're sitting here. But if neither one of us was vulnerable and say like, I'm gonna say what's up, then none of this will happen. And I feel like a lot of things that I've received in my life is always like, man, I don't want to do this. That's people gonna look at me weird. And it's just like I'm at the point now. It's like it's so many people in the world. I don't care how you look at me. Once you get done looking at me, what you gonna do? You're gonna look at someone else. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like and I feel like when you're vulnerable and you know it, it becomes a superpower. Maybe that's another number 4. It's just like being vulnerable and knowing it is a superpower because you're not vulnerable anymore. You're opening up, and people don't open up to people, so they don't know. Like I don't say they don't know how to take it, but they're very receptive of it. Like someone giving a speech, you know what? It could be the worst speech in the world, but if they start that speech with, I'm really nervous right now. You know what I'm saying? Guess what you're gonna do? Every time they stutter, stutter. Look, now I ain't speaking right. Every time they say like ask instead of ask, you know what I'm saying? You just forgot about it because you're gonna be like, oh man, they said they was nervous. Okay. Some people might be like, that's no excuse, but majority of people gonna be like, oh, okay, they said they were nervous. So when they, anything they do is just kind of, they were vulnerable, but they flipped it, and now it's like a power of them. Now it's like I can do whatever I want because I said I was nervous. So just like, who cares?
That's true.
So yeah, so that's just something that I feel like that's been a thing throughout my life, is that whenever I'm vulnerable and I know I'm being vulnerable, like good things come from it. It's just like, yeah. So I know that was a lot, but so yeah, fast forward, I was hired at Google. I came out of retirement. I was like Randy Moss and Brett Favre and all those guys that retired. Michael, retired and then came back, and now I'm working at the company that I literally have been wanting to work for since I could, like, probably like 12. Like Google has always been like a thing in tech. Like, I mean, people work at Microsoft, people work at Amazon, but not the Amazon like where you are ordering stuff on your phone, but the tech part of Amazon, which a lot of people don't know, is it's a monster when it comes, like, competing with Google when it comes to technology. A lot of people don't know this unless you're in tech. Some people do. It's AWS, not Amazon, where you order stuff. It's like their cloud. And but for me, like those are great companies. They're our competition. I've sold against all of those companies when I was at IBM. I've lost against them. You know what I'm saying? I've lost to Google too. So, but I'm on a team now. It's just kind of like, but it's just kind of like, so, but at this point, it's just like, I did a whole lot. And then now I'm like finally at the place where it's just like, man, this is everything they said it was going to be. Like when people hear Google, if you are familiar, you think like, man, that's one of the greatest companies to work for. It's literally voted
Square.
It's literally the greatest company, voted the greatest company you can work for. I'm pretty sure for, I mean, at least 10 years. And the only competition that it would have is Microsoft. But Microsoft, they do the polling on LinkedIn, and Microsoft owns LinkedIn. A lot of people don't know this, but Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So Microsoft takes themselves out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we can't do it because we own LinkedIn and we don't want it to be biased. But it was kind of like, no, that's because working at Google is dope. Like, people are dope. Like, everyone's like, you ever been on a team and like people just don't know what they're doing, and that's not a bad thing, but like they're like, everyone's willing to go out of their way to help you, and you don't have to do other people's work. At least where I am, you know what I mean? Like other parts in my, people have, different stories, people leave. But for me, it's just like, when I throw the ball to you, I know you're going to catch it and I know you're going to score a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, no doubt in my mind. It's like Derrick Henry. Everybody's on the team is Derrick Henry. You just throw it to him and they're like, that's a touchdown. It's like Patrick Mahomes throwing to Derrick Henry. And if Derrick Henry can't do it, he lateral it to, what's his name? Like Cheetah. What's the, you know what I'm saying? Tyreek Hill. Or if the basketball, it's like the all-star team. Like, oh, I'm LeBron. And then if I, want to throw it, I'm going to throw it to Steph. And if Steph don't take a shot, which he going to throw it to Clay. And Clay can't, make the shot, he throwing it to KD. It's like everybody does their own thing very well. And that's super dope because, like, when I pass it to someone, I'm not stressed. It's just like, we have this thing called, what is it like? It's either called like, there are no heroes, or no heroes work here, or something like that. And the thought is that if we need a hero, that means something that the company is doing is wrong. And that freaked me out. I was like, wait, what? And it makes so much sense. It's like, if someone's like, oh my God, thank you, without you, X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. It's like, well, that's something wrong with the company, right? Because no one should be a hero. We all should be working together. You get what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, and that's dope when you think about it. And that's how it is. It's kind of like that. It's been like, it's definitely been a blessing, like working here and getting high. I was hired while I was in the hood. So it was just like, I was working at Google still on the west side. So that was crazy too, to be like, wow, I work at Google and there's gunshots outside the window. But once again, it was one of those things where it's just like, I don't say it humbled, but I guess it's humbling. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, now I feel like I told you earlier, and I think this is before we recorded, I said, my people know you that you don't even know you, because I tell people about you. You get what I'm saying? So like, now those same people that I met on the west side, hopefully I can share their stories with people at MIT, people that went to Yale, people that went to Harvard, that only see it on the news and be like, yeah, those are real people over there. You get what I'm saying? Like real people that go through real things that aren't necessarily looking for people, where I am, people think of people always looking for a handout. Like, what do we need welfare for? What do we need X, Y, and Z for? I don't want to pay for that. It's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to go live in those circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Where you can't necessarily get a job, where, it's just little thing. You don't know how to do a resume. You went to high school, but your high school didn't teach you everything you needed to do in order to do X, Y, and Z, but you're a good individual. You know what I'm saying? So now you work at Aldi's or Walmart, you know what I'm saying? Or you're trying to work there, but you don't know how to, do a resume in X, Y, and Z. So it was one of those things where, I would just gotta give voice to the voiceless. I don't want to be that dramatic, but it's like, I want to make sure that people know that these people are people and people exist. So I felt like I was placed back there in order to make sure that the world knows, you know what I'm saying? I was telling my girlfriend earlier today, like, I sometimes I wish I didn't know as many people, because like when they're taken away from you, it like, God dang, like knowing a lot of people means you're going to have that moment a lot, which unfortunately literally happened to me today. I lost a close friend that I grew up with. And when I say close, I mean like extremely close. But I feel like I told you probably, but I'm 100% sure I told you his story before. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, and now he's literally gone. He passed away yesterday, or once again, we talked about earlier, he got killed yesterday, which has been pretty crazy to kind of mentally go through. But it's at the same time where it's just kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't post on Facebook when people pass away. That's just like my thing that I don't do. But I also feel as if like his story, like, and how like there would be no me if it wasn't for him. And I really feel that way because of where I grew up. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm in the hood. So like the person that I became today, where I know how to do certain things as it relates to growing up in a rougher neighborhood and being able to move back multiple times and then talk to a CEO, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like all of this stuff is just like, you know what I'm saying? Like that is because I was able to have a friend like him. You get what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like all these different things that happen. I want to make sure that like people's stories, or even if it's just little bitty me that has X amount of people on Facebook, it's just like, yeah, if 2 people read this whole post and like it, that was worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool. I'll take that, because at least you acknowledge that that person exists. Because on the news, it's just going to be the person with the face that we've all seen, that we've unfortunately, it's always like, oh man, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy that happened. And then you go about your day, right? So I'm pretty sure the same type of circumstance, like, oh man, that's crazy. Everybody goes about their day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to. However, we also have to think like these are real people, and this their circumstance, and this is the situation they're in. Let's at least mentally, if not physically, acknowledge that they exist, type of thing. So I don't know. Once again, another tangent. You got me talking, so my bad.
Nah, you good, you good. You giving a whole life lesson right there, because it's not a movie.
Right.
It's the best way I can say it. It's not a movie. It's real life. Like you say that all the time. He was like real life. You say that all the time.
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah, man.
This real life, and then for you to even still be connected with people like that, show who you is as a person. You feel what I'm saying? Because like you say, he got killed, so I'm already knowing what time it is. But
it's I think, man, for me, I feel like, I don't know. I hopefully they feel this way, but people that reach, like I said earlier, people that reach out to me that I grew up with, I never like, oh no, I'm good, bro. It's kind of like, cool, I'm glad you reached out, because I'm good at that. And while I know people have pride, you get what I'm saying? So like I realize that. So it's like sometimes it's kind of like, yeah, I could do that for you, but then people will be like, yeah, I don't want your help, or X, Y, and Z. So, but it's like if they're vulnerable enough to ask, I'm 100% there to help. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking of people now that I've helped that I didn't even need to help. And when I say didn't need to, just like there was nothing that I really benefited from to help someone. You know what I mean? Like, but I did it anyway, because it's kind of like I've known you for forever. You get what I'm saying? Like once again, I was telling my girlfriend what happened to my friend, the guy that passed away, and I was like, okay. So I'm trying to tell her the story. I'm like, so not him, this guy. And she was like, I feel like I went to high school with you. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of crazy, because high school, college. I worked at 4 different companies. You know what I'm saying? Like in a frat, meeting people. I lived in Florida. I lived in Indianapolis. So there's a whole gamut of people. But it's just kind of like those are the people that help me be who I am today. You know what I mean? That like you said, oh, and I appreciate you said I networked really well earlier. It's just kind of like, yeah, but those are people that one girl wrote on my post, like I think it was yesterday. She was just like, I was like the 10-year challenge. I don't know if you've seen it. She was like, yeah, that was the guy that talked too much in the class. That, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I used to talk a lot. And I used to ask all the questions, just like, I didn't care. Because I wanted video games. I told you earlier, I wanted my, you know what I'm saying? So I'm getting good grades. And she said that, and I genuinely smiled like, she ain't lying, man. Like, but it's just like, without them, who am I? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like literally, and I could go that route with my family. And just since we're talking about high school people, like I could definitely go that way with high school people as well, because that's when you're developing who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't do it in college, but I feel like going from my high school and how rough it was and being, I want to say accepted, but being like accepted for who I was. And I didn't have to like stray away from that and try to act like someone else. When I went to college, it made it so much easier because I'm like, man, what school you went to? Oh, okay. Yeah, you ain't from Crane, dog. Like you ain't had to go through what I went through. So it's just like, I'm gonna be me. It's like I don't have to put on the facade. It's just kind of like, and I can just rely on the fact that I'm from Chicago. So that just sounds cool, right? Like I'm from Chicago, like not because people say they're from Chicago and they're not from Chicago. They're from like the burbs. And I used to be, people just come up to me and I used to make a joke out of it. Like people are from Chicago. I'm like, oh, what high school you go to? Because I know all the high schools. I play sports. So I know like all the high schools, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I went to North. And I'd be like, I ain't never played nobody. I'm like, all right. And then people afterwards like, bro, I'm like, I'm from Chicago, bro. You from the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we gonna, you know what I'm saying? So it's
That's
one of
what
those
my
things.
friends
So
be telling me.
oh yeah.
One
Oh,
of
for
my
real,
closest
like,
friends from Chicago, he be telling me that all the time.
oh yeah, man. It's just like people they're from the suburbs, but they claim Chicago. And I get it because they're like proximity. But I had friends that didn't that I went to college with that did not grow up in Chicago. Literally are from, I think you might have met a couple, but are literally from a town called North Chicago that's 45 minutes away from Chicago. And they still say, I'm from North Chicago. And people will be like, oh, you from Chicago? Oh, so Chicago. And they're like, no, I'm from North Chicago. So it's just like, it ain't that hard, but people try to, whatever, but not to, go down the rabbit hole. But yeah, man, I always say, I feel as if like I'm 31 now. I mean, I graduated high school at 18. Like if anyone could have left my school outside of someone that was an athlete, anyone that could have left my school and just didn't look back, I had every opportunity to just be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm out. But it's just like, no, like these are people that exist. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, and then because of the internet, it's just like, I feel like I see them all the time. It's just kind of like, yeah, like what's up? What's new with you? What are you working on? You know what I'm saying? And if they're vulnerable enough to say like, oh, Terrance, I see you do X, Y, and Z, it's just like, cool, yeah, I'll absolutely do it for you. When can we do it? Just similar to how we're talking now. Like, hey T, you think you want to like, yeah, let me know. When can we do it? It's nothing to me. Like, let's do it. So I always want to come back. Like I said earlier, the common thread I feel like throughout my career and my life is that I genuinely like to help people, almost to a fault. Actually, it's just like I call it unsolicited advice. But it's just like, which is a thing. Like you didn't ask my advice at all, and I just gave you an earful. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I had to learn to not do that. You get what I'm saying?
I
So it's
still
just
gotta
like,
learn not to do that.
yeah, I know. So what it is you do it. You do it, but just call it unsolicited. You want some unsolicited advice? And then people say, yeah, then you're like, all right, but at least you acknowledge that you didn't ask for it. People that like, I've done it too. Now they'd be like, nah, I'm straight. And I'm like, dang, okay, well, I don't give it to you. But most people, if you say, oh, can I give you some unsolicited advice? They'll be like, yeah. And then you just, instead of you just saying like, that was stupid, you're like, yeah, like, oh, that was stupid. And this is why. And then that's it. But yeah.
That's
so my
real,
bad, but yeah.
And then leading into all of this,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, you dabbled in entrepreneurship too a little bit too, didn't you?
Yeah, just a little bit. So, I mean, I've tried to do a couple of side businesses, but so photography. So I have been hired and have done things with photography. So that's like my own thing, starting it up, picking up a camera, learning different things, X, Y, and Z. So that was that. And I did I haven't officially did it, but like the whole Amazon, setting up an Amazon store and stuff like that. So that, as well as I thought about like literally doing like consulting, like what I just told you about how to get hired, like doing that. I haven't formulated that as of yet, but yeah, doing that as well. So definitely trying to come up with different sources of income outside of just, just tech. So yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I remember you was telling me about something before it even happened. And then you was affiliated with the people who had the app. And I was
oh yeah, absolutely. I forgot about that. Also, shout out to man. So I really appreciate that mind. That it's funny about that. That literally skipped my mind. And I would be remiss not to mention 100%. So I'm a chief technical, right? That's on my LinkedIn for real. I was thinking I gave you all the other stuff, and this is like the meat and potatoes, right? So I'm the chief technical advisor. I think that's my title. I don't know. I can make up whatever if I really want to. It was my friend. So of an app called the Halo app. So right now you can go into the store in the app stores and download. It's called the Halo app. And so I've been working with him. Man, you were there when it was an idea.
Beta. It was beta.
Yeah. No. It wasn't even beta, bro. I flew to Indianapolis for homecoming. So I went to Indianapolis for homecoming. And I came back and I was kicking it with my LB. His name is Taylor Simpson. And anybody go on LinkedIn, you can look him up as well. But I flew there. He told me about the idea. I'm like, that's dope. X, Y, and Z. I came back to Florida, living life, blah, blah, blah. And then we just kept connecting. So so it wasn't even, I told you that we were having meetings because we went to like Taco Tuesday and I was late.
Top secret information. I was supposed to sign non-disclosure.
Yeah, right. It literally, bro. It was like at that point, yeah, if you wanted to know the nitty-gritty, yep, you absolutely had to sign a non-disclosure and all that stuff. But it's live now, man. So that was an idea. And now it's a real tangible thing that I can have. Let me see. Pull it up. But
what do the app do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the app, in short, is like the Airbnb or the Uber of money, right? So this is it right here. Oh, you can see how much money I made from it too. So that's real money that I made. So almost $300. So it's the Airbnb or Uber of money, which means that, so how it works is like you have a borrower and a backer, right? So a borrower is someone that is in need of money. A backer is somebody that is lending the money, right? So it's really based on peer-to-peer lending. So if you look at the peer-to-peer lending or the lending space, so you think about going to like not a loan shark, but going to individuals that loan out money. It's almost like a 400 on average, 400% that you have to pay back if you don't pay it back on on time. What the app does is that it decentralizes that and gives it to the hands of the people, which means that if I needed, money for whatever reason, I can get the app. We have a whole onboarding process where you basically, it's a community, right? It's community based. So you can download it, but then when you download it, then you're going to, have a conversation. They're going to reach out and say, you're going to go through this whole process because the thought is that you want it to be a community where I'm lending or I'm receiving money from someone else that's been through the same process, right? So let's just say I need to pay my rent this month and I don't have the money for rent. I can go on there and I think right now I can get up to $1,000 and borrow it for as long as I want. I think the max is 24 months and pay it back in increments. And the person that's lending the money to me, right? So the backer will put a percentage of what they want the interest to be. But the percentage only goes up to 35%. So 400%, 35% numbers, $400 or 35, you know what I'm saying? $35 off of $100. So, but that's up to the person. So you can get on the app and I don't have to put 35%. I can put it at 0%. I can just give somebody the money and say, pay me back when you get it. Circumstance, right? We've been talking about it all day. And people do that. Can't really drop their names, but there's millionaires and celebrities that have used it that just went on there and just backed people money. Backed them and said, 0 interest, just pay me back when you can. And it's an automatic withdrawal out of your bank account. So that was the phase 1 that you heard of last. So now phase 2 is really building out the community model, which means that if me and let's just say if me and you started a non-for-profit, right? And we have grants and we have to give this grant money out and we don't know how to give it to people. We don't know, like the different circumstances, so on and so forth. Now we can come up with our own code, right? That says like, you can join my community. Let's just call it the Mont and Terrance community, right? And then now anyone that joins that, it's only us lending money to each other. So if I'm a non-for-profit, I have all this money that I have to give away to whoever needs it. That's, let's just say, so he has a partnership with domestic like violence victims in Indianapolis. So like they have women, specifically women, I'm sorry, I don't want to come off wrong, but specifically this is for women, that can leverage the app. You get what I'm saying? Where they can go through and say like, okay, this is our community. X person has the code. They can go and request money from us, right? And then they can give them the money. They can say why they requesting it, X, Y, and Z. And now they have the money and they can pay it back when they see fit. Or you can give a 0 interest loan. You can give it to them, however you want to do it. But the thought is that it has the payback model too. So that's a probably like a 2-minute, 3-minute overview of it. But it's that experience has been super dope because I've been able to leverage everything that I've learned, working with the big companies, if you will, and leverage it in, his app, which is a close friend of mine. And I really believe in it. It's not even one of those things where, once again, it's funny how these conversations go, right? I said I just have an affinity for helping people. I hope I used that right. So to check me, like, that one right, bro. But so for helping people, and the app directly does that. So I'm using tech and I'm literally helping people. And I invest my own money into it, right? So I know how much it is I really know how much it is to build an app and X, Y, and Z. And I took my hard-earned money as well, and I invested it into the company, right? And to the not only to help people and help them.
You're a partner. You're a partner.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, literally, I have like shares or stock in the company. So I gave money. That's probably why I don't have a new car. Actually, you ask me like what a new car is, but so that's probably why I think about it. But so yeah, it's something that outside of Google and everything we talked about, you don't know how valuable it was for you to bring this up, because that's that's like the most important thing, right? Because Google's great and I love working for Google because we help billions of people every day. Like what I do now directly helps the government, which directly helps us. Great, I love that. But this is like, I've given money to people already. This is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that person said that, because it's completely anonymous. I know that person said like, I need money for rent. You know what I mean? And when it said that, it's up to me to be like, I'm going to charge you 35%, or I'm going to charge you 10% or 20%, whatever. And then they can accept it, or they can, like, I've had people deny my loans, right? Because, I'm a business major. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of this like, as in like, it is like an investment, but I'm thinking like, it's the person part. Like, these are still people. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, I would loan people money at 35%, and people would kick it back like, I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? But a part of you onboarding, when you have these conversations, is that don't take out more than you can. You know what I mean? Like, we're a community. So if Terrance come on there and say 35%, if you can't pay that back and you can't pay it back, don't accept that loan. Someone else is going to come and give you. So basically, like with Airbnb, you want to live there and it's too expensive. Like, don't live, don't stay there. Go over here. You're not going to get an Uber Black. You're going to get a regular Uber. So it's like, you're not going to take that loan that's at 35%, even though it's the first one that popped up. Just wait it out. Just see if you can do it. And if it's within your means, then you'll be okay. Because typically people, like I said, I felt like I was having a conversation with the person, because I put it at 35%, they said no. I put it at 30%, they said no. I put it at 20%, they said no. I put it like 15%, it was like yes. I'm like, oh man, it was like, we're like borrowing my money, right? We're like going back and forth. But I think that's cool, because what that means is that like they're a part of the community, they understand the guidelines, and that means that they were going to pay it back. You know what I'm saying? Because it's automatically drawn for your bank account anyway. But it's just like, oh, I'm going to pay it back. And once again, it's like it's the person feel. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I'm helping out a real person. This isn't just somebody that's on the other side of the screen. This is a real person. So I would say that's probably my biggest investment. Yeah, financially, even time-wise, outside of having a 9 to 5, right? Like, whenever on weekends, I've had taken calls with him walking through airports. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like, oh yeah, bro. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. And then I think that's also what I learned from that, is the value of seeing, or other people seeing the value in you that you don't see in yourself. Like, because truth be told, on record for the recording, Mont has been saying I should get into consulting and do my own business thing ever since I met Mont. He's like, bro, why you ain't get your own business? I'm like, I don't really know, man. Circumstance, X, Y, and Z. But I feel like my friend, he showed me that like what I'm getting paid all these other companies for them to, you know what I mean? Like, to tell me, this is my, this is how much I'm paid in X, Y, and Z. He's like, no, Terrance, like, bro, like, you really helped me, because he's not technical. He's an architect major. And so it's like, you went from architect major to he literally has a software company. How do you do that? I have no idea. He did it. And I've helped him, over the years, but he definitely has done all the work. But when it comes to the tech part, even if he's figuring it out, if he just doesn't understand it, he's like, hey, bro, what do you think I do this? I'm telling him like, oh, you should probably do this because this makes sense, or make sure you do this over this. Like I told him to get on Amazon or whatever, and then now I work for Google, and it's like, dang, I just told you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's like one of those things where just having those conversations. I think we've grown closer over the years because it's like, I'm gonna ask you this, Mike. How hard is it to invest in your, someone that you're super close to? You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're tying your life, to something, at least I can do is get in the boat with you. You know what I'm saying? So now when he needs my help, who guess who? Like somebody called me while we talking. Now I'm looking like I hope that wasn't him, because like what I'm saying, like let's have these conversations because I'm in the boat with him. So that's probably my most passionate. Not probably, that is my most passionate venture, just because I like my thoughts and my my time is always helping people, even when I'm not using the app, right? It's just kind of like, nope, someone was able to have groceries today. That's dope. And then when I actually use the app, it's like, yeah, I helped someone get groceries today. That's super cool. And I wanted to make it real for the people. It showed you I made almost $300 on it, so I've been back at home. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you can make money on it if you have the disposable income. And then my thought is that it's not even you can make money. These are real people. So even if, let's just say, someone doesn't pay back on time, it's like that was the reason why they didn't pay back is because they didn't have it. You know why they didn't have it? Because we pulled from their bank account. So it literally was not there. Am I mad about that? Like, man, I probably can't go, do whatever I was going to do this, I wouldn't say that, but I can't. I'm not overextending myself either. So it's not like, oh, I can't do what I wanted to do, but it's like, did I need that cup of coffee? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, maybe I did because they ate. I'm cool with that. You get what I'm saying? Like little stuff. So yeah.
No, for real.
There's a lot too.
We need to, they need to get the Halo app. Make sure y'all get the Halo app. Ask, because I talked to bro one day. I need we need an affiliate app. We need a code.
No,
because is it a membership charge?
No, 0%. Nope, not at all. So like I would say this. I know both of y'all. I feel like when you was in North Carolina, I told you he moved there. But so he there, but I can hook that up right. Like, yeah, that's nothing. All you gotta do is get back on there and then say that you want to start a community, and then you can have a code for this. Like literally for your podcast, it can be like literally say like, I'm just gonna make it real, right? So you name it, you give it a code, and whatever the code is gonna be, people watch your podcast, you say, hey, go download the Halo app. This is my community, for the people that watch the podcast. If you need some assistance, or if you want to, back someone that watches the podcast, this is gonna be for us. So whenever you see someone in this community, you're gonna know that they listen and we're part of they listen and watch the podcast. So you can absolutely do that.
I'll put the link below to get into the Halo community so we can get our own community and we can make something happen. We can invest in some companies, we can give back to the people who need it, help out some single mothers and single fathers, some people who looking for jobs in different cities. So we're gonna get this going. I like that. I like that idea.
Absolutely, man. That's super dope. So I'm gonna make sure to to do that. So because once again, I'm tied to it. So if I don't do it, that's me not getting you on the platform, which I want everyone to use the platform if you for both sides, right? For backing and or borrowing. So
that's dope. Right, Terrance gave us the gems. He done told us how he went from hood to Hollywood.
Back to the hood.
You went back to the hood. You need your own movie. Back to the hood.
Man. That's crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. That'll humble you real quick. And then I don't know, man. You get real deep into like just faith. Like this isn't. You think like this isn't real life, but then you think about it like. I always, unfortunately, but it definitely like resonated. I always say like when I had a rough day, like when I'm working at Google, have a rough day, right? We're all human. I always think to myself like, was that day really rough? Like Terrance, there's literally people down the streets Like, I'm not joking or anything like that, but there's literally like people down the street that are in dire situations that, like, not even saying that like, oh, well, Terrance, you go do something, that just, that's their circumstance. You get what I'm saying? It's like, that's what that's just them. You know what I mean? Like, there's places on the west side of Chicago where like homeless people have like their own community and people drive by and give them things and X, Y, and Z, but it's just kind of like, nope, they want to be out there at this point because you set up a whole, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the city is giving out porta potties. It's like, oh no, y'all, this is, you know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like, at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, my day wasn't that bad. Yep, I'm gonna shut up. It wasn't that bad. You get what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, all right, I can figure this out. Like, yeah, this could be stressful, but was my day really that bad? I'm not saying that no one is, you know, my life isn't absent of stress, but it really makes you think, like, was my day that bad? Because you were at Walmart, I was at Aldi's, and I'm not telling this story for like any kudos or anything, but I was at Aldi's and the lady in front of me or behind me couldn't pay for their groceries, or their cars was declined or something like that. And it was near Christmas time and I'm working at Google. So it's just like, yeah, like, the weird part is like, you know, Aldi's is looked at as like the lesser whatever. So it's just kind of like, I mean, that's what in the neighborhood I'm in. That's the only thing we had was an Aldi. So I went to Aldi's, you know, there, whatever. And the lady behind me couldn't pay for her groceries. And I was just like, do I pay for her groceries? That's going to be so weird. You know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, hey, you want me to get it? Like, to me, I always say, and I hopefully people take this away. I always say, if you're helping someone and you feel like it affects you when you wake up in the morning and you don't think about it, then it wasn't that big of a deal, right? So with anything, so like even jump in someone's car, right? Like, if you like, man, I'm on my way home, I'm tired. Someone like, hey, can you jump my car? You like, I don't really feel like it. And he was like, forget it, I'm just gonna do it. It's just like, when you wake up in the morning, it's gonna be like, oh man, I can't, why did I, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're just gonna go about your day. So for me, we're at, you know, Aldi. So it's not like it's not Whole Foods or all these bigger, you know, more expensive stores. So I'm like, she could have a $200 bill, and a $200 bill gonna feed her for a while. You know what I'm saying? Because you get more on stuff that's more for less, but you do. So I don't even remember. That's right. I don't even remember how much it was. That's not the big deal. I asked, like, you want me to pay for it? You know, so I didn't even do it like that because I don't want people to feel as if, like, you know, feel some type of way, because pride, like I told you earlier, pride is a thing. So I forget how I did it, but I was like, yeah, I can pay for it. Don't worry about it. And this guy in the line was like, you paying for mine too? And everybody just started laughing. And I was glad he did. It was like, because it took it off of them. And then he made the joke, and I was like, all right, I got you next time. Don't worry about it. Happy holidays. You know what I'm saying? And then just left. But it was like one of those things where it's just kind of like, if you can help people, it's just kind of like, I feel like I always say, like, if you know and you can help people, isn't it your responsibility to do that? Yeah, it becomes your, like, if you're aware, it becomes your responsibility. If me and Mont are in Vegas and something that we do is against the law in Vegas that's not in Chicago, right? It could be anything. But then you know, we out there and you do that, like, it's my responsibility. No, Mont, that ain't it. Nope, we can't do that, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't, you get what I'm saying? We do that with friends all day. No, you don't do that around here. It's my responsibility because I know to tell you, right? So if I can help you, or I know something, is like, it's my responsibility to kind, you know, to help you. And in that case, I was, you know, able to. So I feel like that's the same way with the app. Just to kind of bring it back full circle, it's just kind of like, you know, I've been fortunate to always have a community, which I alluded to earlier, that common thread. And now I'm, you know, helping other communities, you know what I'm saying, of people. So it's just kind of like, you never really know how, like, who you back or who randomly on the app need groceries. All right, cool. I'm eating. Like, you literally can't take the money to the grave. Like, I feel like LeBron doesn't get enough praise for the I Promise school. Like, bro started a school. He's literally changing the universe. What? He found out that he could do it. He's probably getting tax write-offs if you want to really get into it. I feel like, selfishly, all NBA players that make a substantial amount of money, all of them need schools. LeBron already did it. Like, what's your excuse? Go hire 100 people to do what LeBron did and then put your name on it. And maybe they do have it, right? But his was like the first of its kind. But it's just like, bro, if I make $200 million, I can go change someone's life over there. Why not do it? Isn't it my responsibility? I think it is. So yeah.
No, that's dope. So what all you got going on? What's next? What's the next 5 years looking like for you?
Next 5 years. That's a great question. So I'm gonna be at Google for a little bit just because how I negotiated my 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 employment with them. So I'm gonna be here and I don't know if I'm being DC specifically, but I'm gonna be at Google honestly um for a while. And I just really like the company. Excuse me. So it's just kind of like, once again, if I can, through tech, if I'm doing something that I know is going to help other people, then that's worth doing, right? And with all our products, I always say, like, people look at Apple and all this stuff, and I get it. I'm in tech, so I know you want the new flashy X, Y, and Z, but I feel like Google, I don't know if people seen the commercials, but it's just like, it's this one Google commercial because I'm in sales. So they showed these commercials at IBM, which is crazy to me. Like, why don't we do this? Why y'all showing Google stuff? And that's before I became a Googler. But it was one commercial where like they all using all Google products. A kid that moved away from his family, it was like in India. A kid that moved away from his family, like found his family using all Google products. Like he could only remember a door or something when he was a kid. He looked through like India and did this, like, I think I was in this region. Or he found somebody and was like, where did I come from type of thing. They was like, oh, you're in this area. Then he looked at that map in the area. Then he asked someone else, and it was like using Google Maps, and he found his family. You know what I'm saying? He threw bits and pieces of information using Google products. And I'm just like, wait a second, what? Like, because India is like very populated, as those that know. And it's just like, how do you have so small, little information, and then you come all the way back and find your family, which is just like mind-boggling. So I feel like to be a part of that is just like super dope. Like, and for me specifically, working for the government or working with the government, it's one of those things where it's just super cool to know that, like, they're using the technology, and as it relates, I'm the person helping, good or worse. I mean, for good or for worse, right? It's like one of those things where, it's where we live. We live in the greatest nation on earth. Can anyone argue with that? Or would anyone argue with that? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, yeah, it's not perfect. No one's perfect. It's ran by humans. I don't even want to get into that. So nothing's perfect. However, at the same time, it's like to supply the people that are doing, you know what I mean? Like, you might have bad apples in some cases, but the people that are doing good, you know what I mean? I'm helping that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I get it. That guy's over there, he's using it too. But that lady that is like, Youth Outreach of America. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's dope. And I helped you use a Google product that made your life easier. You remember, because I feel like tech is to make our lives, easier. So it's like, it made it easier. So long story short, I'm gonna be at Google for a little bit. But ultimately, I'm pretty like 90% sure I'm gonna go work with Taylor at the Halo app, just because I don't know if people know the feeling of talking to someone about an idea and seeing it become reality. Like, I feel like maybe like people that are artists, like, right? So people that write and do all this stuff is just kind of like, yeah, I created that out of nothing. But if you're not an artist in that way, or a painter, or a creative, right, if you will, it's like, which I feel like a lot of the people in the world, even if they are creators, they don't necessarily create in a traditional sense. So it's just kind of like, to see that come to fruition, it's just like, oh yeah, man, that's going to be cool to be a part of that. I just feel like, for me personally, once again, my MBA, prestige wise, I wanted Google on my resume. I got it on my resume. Now it's just like who gonna stop me now? It's just like, I can go work anywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I can literally go work anywhere as it relates to technology. And then for those who stayed to the end of this, I'm gonna just script them. And then my script gonna be lit because it's gonna have Google at the end now. And then it's gonna be like, yeah, and I did this at Google, I changed the world. Basically, that new tech, I invented it. Probably not true, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna script it and then be done with that. And then from there, it's just kind of like the sky's the limit now, man. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna work with him and probably be like the CTO, ideally be the CTO over there in the next couple of years. And like I said, just keep being good to people and being nice to people and kind of stand out of the way. And then when I'm called upon, or when I see that I have to like get out of that and really go help someone, then absolutely go do that too. So yeah, next 5 years, absolutely.
That's what's up. You still gonna have the Android, because
I have
Terrance
3 Androids.
Terrance so funny. Hey, He's so funny. He had the Android, but he didn't like the iPhone. So he had the iPhone, and he like, I don't like it. He real techie. He the real techie. He like, I got Android. He used to be funny. He texted girls like, so you gonna text me back because I got Android because they.
I mean, no, that's the. Oh man, that's.
They used to try to play
man,
you. Look, so now they know people who got Androids. They probably got it for a reason because they know something we don't.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm a huge. I forgot I unfortunately did used to say that. Because people, it's a stigma. Like people like, you got an Android. It's like, bro, are you serious? Like my phone is literally better than your phone in every way, and I'll prove it to you. Give me 2 minutes. But people don't go that far, and this is why, because Apple. And I'll keep it short.
Imagine being at a bar with Terrance and he all this technical, and he tells somebody.
Yeah, I'm about to. I would like, because Apple is a luxury brand, bro. It's not. It's just like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, like all of these brands that they just make T-shirts. Then you got Fruit of the Loom, but since that's Gucci, you pay more. Apple is literally that of tech, like 100%. Not saying Apple hasn't been. I mean, I don't want to get me on my soapbox. Apple hasn't been innovative in years. First of all, if you can name, I just did this with my nieces and nephews, right? Because they, oh my God, they're so smart, but they love Apple products. I'm like, ew. Like, why do you know what I'm saying? So we at the table and they like, Apple has this. I'm like, nope, that came from Google. Nope, that came from here. They didn't think of that. Are you serious? They were like, what about, like, they got the Apple Pen? I'm like, a stylist? Like, are you, like, I mean, now I'm getting mad. They're like 12 and 13. I'm getting mad. I'm like, are you serious? You talking about a stylist? Like, I'm like, Kanye, you talking about a stylist? Like, yeah, I don't even get this, but Apple hasn't been innovative like, honestly, in my opinion, hasn't been innovative in a while. People like it because it gives you that luxury feel. And that's fine. I just say stay over there. But yeah, I'm not an Apple fan. I've had iPhone, Android at the exact same time and opted for the Droid. A lot of people think like, oh, I'll use Instagram and Instagram is better, because it's an iPhone. But that's just not true. It's because the developers know that people are using iPhone a lot. So they have a lot of developers working on the iPhone part of like the iPhone app. Versus they're two different things, right? So it's like having a PlayStation and an Xbox, right? If the Xbox is better, that's because they spent more time on it over here because it's a luxury brand. So if I'm going to try to sell something to someone, people that's going to buy it is probably going to be the people over here because they already bought an overpriced phone. So I'm going to make it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's the same thing over here. It's if it's not better over here as well. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to get into it. Yeah, imagine me and Mike going out, and this is what I'm explaining to people like, this is not true. And they like, why your Snapchat videos look so crusty? I'm like, it's because
that's what I tell the whole story. Because he said this the first person that told me why. Because you know how if you look at the video, sometimes it's different. But that's because the Android software most of the time is ahead of the Apple software. It's not because your phone just look like surveillance. Like your phone look like surveillance. No. This phone behind and it can't catch up to this software yet. That's why it's crazy.
Like, yeah, because think about it. Like when you text a picture from like a iPhone to a Droid, like it gets weird. You know what I mean? Like things have to be compatible, and it's not always compatible to send a picture or video from over here to over here. So now when I get your video, it's like, oh, this looks horrible. Like there's nothing wrong with my video from the format that it's in over here. It's when you go over there and it's trying to translate it, it doesn't make sense. So a lot of times with the apps, if I upload a video, it's in my format. But now when you pull the video down, who's to say that like Snapchat didn't format it for your phone? Now it looks all raggedy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at my stuff like, it looked clear on my phone. What's going on? Then looking at it over here, it's like, okay, it's just like, what's going on over here? So I get it. I understand it. That's fine. I've been through the trenches of explaining all of this to people, but yeah, I think from a usability standpoint, from an innovative standpoint, I can do anything I want with my phone standpoint. Like I think Apple still has the same icons, right? Like from forever, which is cool. People like that. But if I want to change anything, how my screen works, like you all just got widgets, like 2 or 3 software updates before. Widgets, like the stuff that you can touch on the screen and do stuff with, has been out on Android since like the beginning. And like voice to text, or not even voice to text, where it can like read the text on the phone. Like people are going crazy with this update where it's like, oh yeah, now I can like take a picture of something and it can like scan the information off. It's like, are you what? wait, bro, are we 12? Like, bro, like a droid could do that natively years ago. There's stuff on Droid that people don't even know it can do because you have to sit down and actually, get used to it because it has an open community of developers, if y'all really want to get technical, versus Apple, they don't have that. They have like a strategic people working on strategic things, which is fine. But the innovative part is just kind of like, if anyone can reach out to me, y'all can hit me up on LinkedIn, my Instagram, and prove to me that Apple is better. I look at here. I would be very impressed because I don't see that happening because it just hasn't been in the last since unfortunately Steve Jobs passed away almost. I feel like where's the innovation? Like why isn't Apple coming out with something that's just like game changing? I feel like Apple should low key get into education, but I don't want to get into all this right now. It's a whole different conversation on where tech companies should pivot. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely a luxury brand that it's overpriced, but I mean people pay thousands of dollars for a t-shirt. So if that makes me look cool that I have a blue bubble, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, right. Well, cool. Yeah, more power to you, bro. But yeah, to me, I don't really see it. I feel like you can get pretty good stuff at a really good price that's honestly better, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
That's true though. So I'm implementing a new segment.
Okay.
So they said Solomon wrote over 3,000 proverbs and over 1,000 songs.
Okay.
This demonstrated his wisdom. So I want to implement that on the show now. So
okay.
What is your proverb that you would tell someone or tell young men, tell young women that they aspire to, they know they trying to trust God, but they're going through it, they coming through the trench, they trying to come up, they gotta put their faith, they gotta walk by faith and not by sight. What is something that you would tell them that you have learned that can help them along their journey?
Man, I can think of a lot of stuff. For me, I always say when you really try and put your mind to something, typically it comes to fruition. And I can honestly say I battle with, even with my resume, I battle imposter syndrome. I'm like, I know exactly, trust me, man. Like I even work at Google and I have imposter syndrome in Google. Like, do I belong here? Like I'm tech, but I'm not tech. You know what I'm saying? Like I do, so it's just kind of like, I really feel like if you put your mind to something, and I'm not even going to do the whole 10,000 hours thing because I mean, I've done research and I don't bust anybody's bubble, but that's not really legit. And they have like proof that like doing something for 10,000 hours, you can do the same thing for 10,000 hours and still not whatever, develop it. But the thought to me is that if you genuinely try, typically things will go your way. And like what I want you to do, and I challenge everybody to do, is say like when you're graduating high school or graduating college or really wanted a job and you really sat down, and did the work, and like really like you knew the presentation, you knew study, it typically went the right way. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when I really wanted the job at Google, I really sat down and was like, how can I perfect my interviews? You know what I mean? Like what can I do? And I sat down, I put my mind to it. I went back, and I didn't even say this part, but I actually went back and studied stuff. Remember I said tech moves so fast. So when I was interviewing for Google, I was vulnerable. I went and was like, I don't know everything. I bought like tech classes to like refresh on stuff that I haven't had to do in years. And it was just like, I once again, I told my girlfriend, I was like, you've never seen me work as hard as you're going to see me work. I was like, I had like a little office. I'm like, I'm going to be in the office for like probably up until like 3, 4 in the morning, just like doing this, watching videos. And I say that because it's like, if it doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. You know why you're going to be okay? Because you're going to know you worked your butt off. And then you're gonna be like, oh, that wasn't meant to be, it's almost refreshing, like, oh yeah, that wasn't even meant for me, bro. Like, because I tried. Like, I know I tried. And then you're okay with it because it's just like that. Like at that point, you might be upset, but it's just like that really wasn't meant for me because I really 110,000% tried. I feel like a lot of times actors or rappers and all this stuff, They supposed to sell a dream on, yeah, my life is dope, I did this. And it's just like, no, bro, like when you were in the trenches, you probably sat and wrote that song when your life was falling apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why that song was amazing. And of course, when you get big, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I always had it in me and I'm dope. And it's just like, I get it, bro. Yeah, okay. But you probably wrote that song when your life was falling apart. That's why it hit the way it does. You get what I'm saying? You actually tried. You were like, I'm using quadruple entendres. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm making this, like, this is gonna be dope. Like, I actually tried. And then that's what happens, right? So that would be my I guess my proverb to individuals is kind of like, usually when you actually try, the world moves, right? And that's subjective to what you feel like trying is. But I feel like trying is when, if it doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. You feel like, oh, okay, I'm cool with that. I didn't need it. That wasn't for me. Like now you're just like, yeah, I'm super cool with that. Like, what we about to do this weekend? Because that wasn't for me. So yeah.
Dope. You hit 3 scriptures. Like I tie everything back to the word of God. Yep. I encourage everybody to read the Bible front to back at least once in your life. I'm gonna read it front to back every year because all you got to do is read 4 chapters a day, and you will read the whole Bible front to back. But you hear, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You hear, faith without works is dead, and you hear, all things work for the greater good of those in Christ. Always remember that this Bible always gonna be the guide. It's funny because a lot of people, like as I started, like they was like, you can see yourself religious. Somebody asked me that the other day. You can see yourself religious? I said, boy, I'm not religious, boy. Like this is life. Like everything. Solomon said, everything in life there's a season. You feel what I'm saying? Nothing is new under the sun. Like this Bible is life. When we start to live by this Bible as guidance and not suggestive living, we're going to be surprised at how much more life works out for us because we understand that it's more important to be obedient than be happy. Because when you're happy, you might just can be completely out of the will of God. But when you under the will of God, you're going to be happy by default because you did what your father said do. And this is what is need to do to get to my happiness, to get to my expected end, because his plans are to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you expected end. And once we really understand that, I think a lot of stuff will start to just fall into place. He said, my people called by my name will turn from their wicked ways, get on their knees and pray. I'll listen to their prayers. I'll answer them. God doesn't need man to do things, but he needs man to do things. And you talked about this a lot. You talk about doors opening, networking. Everything in our life is connected to a person. I got that from a man of God. He told me that, and I live by that ever since I heard it. He said, everything in your life is connected to a person. So if I put my time in God first, why wouldn't he send the people and open up the doors to give me the desires of my heart? That's another scripture. Give you the desires of your heart. But that don't mean he gonna give you, he not about to give me, if I want 30 prostitutes on my birthday for my 30th birthday, that's not about to happen. I want 30 girls, I want 30 Instagram girls at my house. That's the desires of my heart. No, that don't match his desires for your life, because now you got soul ties, you probably got VD, and you probably got 2 kids after having all 30 of them. You know what I'm saying? So that's not the desires of, he gonna give you the desires of your heart when your heart matches his. Well, I'm not gonna say when your heart matches his, but when your desires match his, because he know your heart. He know what you're gonna do with this money that he about to give you. He know what you're gonna do when he open these doors for you. If he can't trust you, or you're not ready yet, sometimes everything happens in life in season. Because sometimes you might not be ready for what he about to give you. So he got to put you through this fire. He got to put you through this thing, because gold, when it's refined, it has to go through fire. So if you going through something right now, just know that you going through whatever you going through, no matter what it is, for a reason. I be talking to some people a lot. Like some people, I remember I was talking to a dude one time. He said, God can't be real because my life will never be this messed up. I said, you don't know what God got planned for you. And it might not even be for you. It might be for your kids. It might be for your kids' kids. I was just reading today, and it's funny because God told Abraham everything that was going to happen to his lineage. Never told Isaac, and he never told Jacob. Isaac was good. He ain't had no problems. It was sweet for Isaac. You feel what I'm saying? Everything was sweet for Isaac. It was sweet. It was good. Then he has Jacob and Esau. Esau get left behind because he blew it. But then Jacob schemed Esau. So he get put into basically not bondage, but he gets put into a situation where his mother tell him, go to my brother's house and that's where you gonna live because you finessed Esau. Esau gonna kill you. So you gotta go, you gotta get up through. So he get up through, he go to his mama, brother, his uncle house. He run into the girl of his dreams. He say, boom, boom, like, you know, back then incest was different. So whatever. He go, I want your daughter for my wife. He said, oh, you do? Well, around here, you got to work for what you want. This, that, and the third. He said, all right, I'll work for you for 7 years. He's like, okay, I'll work for you 7 years. He worked for him 7 years. Now he get finesse. He give him his older daughter, Leah, when he drunk. He wake up in the morning, find out Leah is, wait, I thought I married Rebecca. No, you married Rebecca. You married Leah. You see what I'm saying? Then I hope it's Rebecca because I get all these names confused sometimes. But then you go through the process again. He said, well, I want to work 7 more years for the other daughter. Feel what I'm saying? Now you got to work 7 more years. Then they broke. So he keep having kids. That's how he end up. Just think about this. If he told me he's going to have a many nations, but he's not going to tell you what the plan is. He just going to, because if he said it got to come back, his word can't return void. So if you got prophesied to by a prophet tell you, if he man's God's man, he tell you something, it's gonna happen. It might not happen the way you want it to happen. It might not happen for you. It might happen for somebody else. So now he's stressed out. You know why he having all these kids? He having all these kids. Leah, he trying to have all the kids with the other sister. Because I think I'm gonna look it up, but I think it's Rebecca. He trying to have kids with her. It ain't working, but Leah popping them out. He popping them out. God giving them to her because he neglecting Leah. You feel me? Then Rebecca say, just have a baby with my maid. Cause I can't have them. So now he messing with the maid. You know, married the maid. He got 2 baby mamas. Feel me? So Leah get jealous. She say, well, since you having babies with her maid, have babies with my maid. So now he got 3 baby mamas. Then finally, Rebecca had kids. So now he's stressed out. He been going through this process. You feel what I'm saying? It's 20 years down the line. Then he get finessed again. So all of this happened because he finessed his brother. You feel me? But God ain't gonna tell you all this. So now he done got finessed. He done been working for the father. He been working for Laban for, I think it was 25 years if I calculated. He working for Laban for 25 years. He probably went there between the ages of 16 and 20. I'm gonna find it out. So he 40, 50 years old, finally gets out of this situation, wrestles with God, get his hip messed up. Then he thinking his brother about to kill him. So he try to give him all this stuff. Brother say it's good. You ain't got to worry about all that. Then he finally, just to give everything to Joseph, for Joseph to get put up in exile in Egypt, for him to be the prime minister of Egypt, to run Egypt. This generations after he done told Abraham this. Now they finally go to slavery, just like he told Abraham, but I'm gonna redeem y'all. I'm gonna redeem y'all. He sent Moses, you feel me? Moses, the redeemer. Moses lead the people out of Egypt to get to Canaan, to go through all this different stuff. You got David, the whole lineage, but he's not gonna tell you what's gonna happen. He gonna tell you what's gonna happen, but he ain't gonna tell you how it's gonna happen. So for us to get confused and think that we gonna control the process, why control I try to control the process. Why not yield to the voice of God and just listen? That's gonna be easiest for you. You ain't gonna stress. You ain't gonna have anxiety. If you can't eat today, it's like, oh, well, like you said, like, oh well, like I mean, I guess I'm not gonna eat today, or
Right.
or what if you not worried about it? I just been plenty of time. Like I've been living by faith probably. I'm gonna say about a year and a half now. But I ain't been like legitimately living by it all the way till my father almost died. Father almost dies, 3 brain surgeries in 2 months, got to come back home, take care of him. This is my first time in my life actually having to like, don't try to control nothing. Just woke up today, God, what I'm supposed to do. And honestly, it's easier because you know that what this book say. No matter what I go through, all things got to work for my good. All things work for the greater good of those in Christ. It has to, because it's in his word. He said in his word, my word shall not return to me void. So if I know this book, like I know my rap songs, if I know this book,
Right.
like I know my pickup lines, I'm telling the girls, if I know this book, like I know I know my book, I know my NBA stuff, or I know this book, like I know what they told me to work at Google, I'm gonna prosper, because Joshua 1:8 say, know these laws and live by them. It's how you're gonna succeed and prosper. It's just, it's amazing to me how we neglect the word of God, thinking it's suggested, but understand that we really know it, it's over with. And I just tied it back to what you said, because everything in the Bible, it's not by coincidence. We got to know this stuff. We got to understand this stuff so that we can bring our kids up. They can bring their kids up. It's not too late. A lot of us have fallen behind. That's because we were searching after the wrong thing. We were searching for the desires of our heart. And who can know the heart? Because the heart wicked. So when you start to veering off, you don't know why it's veering off. You got your great grandkids running around here talking about the universe and chakras and praying with candles and playing with the stones and playing with tarot cards and listening to psychics and going to them trying to get their palms read and stuff. And you like, where does this come from? It comes from the lack of knowledge, but that knowledge comes from the lack of rooting everything back to the word of God. You start getting lazy. You start playing around with praying. You start playing around with going to church. Like, it's so cliche to go to church now. It's crazy. Like, some people go to church, some people don't. Some people don't believe, but they still go. It's like a frenzy. It's like, no, it's supposed to be like air. It's supposed to be like water. If we really want to live this life abundantly that Jesus died for, like Jesus died for you to have life and life more abundantly. But how am I supposed to really have life more abundantly if I'm worried about the stuff I got dominion over? Genesis said we got dominion over everything. You feel what I'm saying? Read Genesis 1, he said, let them have dominion. Let them have dominion. He tells us to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. You feel what I'm saying? Like, this is ours. Cars are rocks. Houses are trees and bricks and stuff like that. And you feel me? The food is the fowl of the air and the cattle on the ground. We have dominion over all this stuff. So for us to think that we have to disobey the word of God by circumstance to get what we have dominion over is backwards. It's completely backwards. But that's one reason why I created this podcast, though. Bring people on like you feel what I'm saying? So we can we got to get back into this. Like, and it's not about being cliche. It's not about being corny. It's not about being holy roller, all the dumb stuff they used to be saying. This is truth. And when you live by the truth, you abide by the truth, and you live as the truth. Bible tells us you are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you are kings. This ain't nothing to the women, but we sons of God. You feel what I'm saying? When God look at man, he don't look at man as male and female. You feel what I'm saying? When he said he just made the female species, you feel what I'm saying? He made a woman species. Adam called Eve woman. He just made Eve. And the only reason why he made Eve, people don't even know reason why. Like, it's so funny you got this. I mean, I don't want to touch on it, but I touched on it in another episode. And we talking about purpose here, purpose for man and woman. You feel me? The only reason why God made Adam essentially is because he had nobody to watch over his vegetation that he created, and he wanted to make more of it because he speak it. You feel what I'm saying? So like, we need somebody to watch over the earth. Let's make man in our image and our likeness. He breathe into man. You feel what I'm saying? And then years go past. You read Genesis 2. Genesis 1 to give you the whole outlook. Genesis 2 give you the breakdown of how it happens. Now, man is working. Man shouldn't be alone. He told man what to do, what he wanted to do, be fruitful. Like, he say, but he just, you feel me? Man shouldn't be alone. So now he brings the animals to him. Now Adam's in the garden naming the animals. But if you look hindsight, if you look outside the scripture, this will show you that he is actually probably, this is Lamont's opinion, working with each animal to see if he can be a companion or a helper. So at this time, this shows me that female does not exist in no species. It's just whatever it is. It's not even male or female. It's just Adam. It's just tiger. It's just lion. And he's naming them, and possibly he's naming them as he's seeing what they can do. Oh, you can't help me. You're a giraffe. You're a lion. You king of the jungle, but you really can't help me. Eventually, God say, go to sleep. Put him in deep sleep. Take the rib out. Feel what I'm saying? Creates woman. He presents it at the time. It's nothing. It's it. Presents it to Adam. He done named everything else for its purpose. Oh, this is woman. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I should call her woman. Literally his words out of his mouth. I should call it woman. And woman stands for a wounded man, a man with a wound. You feel what I'm saying? A man that can have children. So now he take them, put them in Eden. So he already created all this stuff. Now he creates a place for them and tell them, he already put Adam in there. Matter of fact, he put Adam in there already. Told him, don't eat from this tree. So now you got to tell Eve what to do. He been here years before her. So we know that the purpose of man is to watch over the earth, take care of everything here, be productive, watch over each other. Woman comes to help the man. So we know that neither one of us can exist without each other. So we got to end that argument about who's more important and all this power struggle. And then we also got to end the whole thing of, I mean, you know what I'm going with this, but that's a whole nother story. We know the purpose of man and woman. We know what we're supposed to be doing. We can't be seeking after happiness. We can't be seeking after our emotions. Living by your emotions is going to always lead to detriment because the heart is wicked. Who can know it? You live by your emotions. You live to be happy. You live to not be angry. You live to not be depressed. You live to not be anxious without using this word of God and understanding. You're always going to fall short. That's what the Bible says. Trust in the Lord all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. And he ain't say the road was going to be easy. He said the weapon was not going to prosper. He said, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. He didn't say the weapon wasn't going to form. He just said it wasn't going to prosper. Everybody went through something. You feel me? Everybody going to go through something, but that don't mean that you not going to get to what God had you to do. If God created you to do it, it's in you and you going to do it. But it's that point where you either avoiding it or you trying to make it happen yourself. That's when we start running into more problems. I have the belief now that whatever God purposed you to do, it's like a broom. I can't use this broom like how I mop. I can, but it's not going to be effective.
All right, not the right tool.
It's not used for that. So Terrance, you're gonna be Terrance regardless. Lamont gonna be Lamont regardless. But I make my decisions how well I'm going to do this. So if I decide to, I'm about to, you feel me? I'm about to sleep with 10 girls raw and I get 3 of them pregnant. And now I was like I had the ability to be in the NFL or I had the ability to be a great businessman, but now these children hinder me back because of my decisions. Or I decide to, I get a whole bunch of money and I decide to be frivolous with it and go to Vegas every weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna still do what God called me to do because his word can return to void, but I might not be as successful as it is. And when you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, Jesus died, rose from the dead. Now you can't just be living any kind of way. I mean, but you confess that well, first off, you believe in Jesus for real, you're not gonna live any kind of way. It's over with. Like people can say what they want. You really believe in God, you're not gonna live any kind of way because you already know I can possibly go to hell. But when you believe in Jesus, he died on the 3rd day, rose from the dead, died for your sins, your son of God, you going to heaven. But how you gonna go to heaven? Is you gonna go to heaven in the cheapest way, or is you gonna go to heaven in style? You feel what I'm saying? And we're not talking about your life just gonna be grand and glorious, but it's about this, that peace. Is this working out for me? Am I helping people? Am I completing my assignment? Or am I just existing? Am I just living? Waking up every day, I go to work, complain about this, pay my bills, complain about the bills. Don't never accumulate nothing. Don't leave nothing for my kids. The Bible said a good man leave an inheritance for his children's children. So if I ain't even planning for the children's children, what am I doing? It's just, we really got to live by that word. Once we know our purpose, we can live on our purpose. And at that point, we can do whatever is in the will of God for our life. And we get rewarded. He said, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So if I don't have faith, it's impossible to please him. For we must believe that he's a rewarder to those that diligently seek him. So if I got faith that whatever God has for me, I'm going to have it. And if I live my life, because faith without works is dead. If I live my life properly, not even talking about sinning, because sinning, that's a whole nother story. We all going to sin. Everybody falls short, but you make your decisions. So if I go kill somebody right now, I can still go to heaven. You feel me? Like I still go to heaven, but when they catch me, I'm going to jail. And if I kill a whole bunch of people and I do it 1st degree, I might get the death penalty depending on what state I'm in. I might be teaching people about Jesus in the cell on my way to death row. But I'm going to complete my assignment. It's just all about my decision. So let that sit on somebody's heart. Maybe somebody going back and forth, whatever.
I think you hit on a lot of points for me. I think while I'm not necessarily as versed as you are in the scriptures, I feel like a lot of the things you were saying is I could see where I just, lack of knowledge. That's not an excuse, but it's just like, man, it's like, it's always when I talk to you, it's never like, it's like, oh man, I didn't know that. Or yeah, I'm not as familiar with that, but I see that, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, you always bring it back like, oh, dang. Like, so while you're talking and you're speaking, it's just like, I'm making one-to-one connections for things that I just didn't know because I haven't, as you said, you told me that before, you read 4 chapters a day, you can read the whole Bible. You definitely told me that. But so it's one of those things where, conversations like these, it's important because I haven't read the whole Bible. You can I can tell you something, you can be like, oh yeah, that's that part over there. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, and you remind me that I have to do better. However, at the same time, it's just kind of, you create that, what is it? I don't want to say camaraderie, but you kind of create that connection, you know what I mean? And you make it real. So I appreciate that, definitely.
I know for sure. That's what say, iron sharpen iron. Therefore, friends should sharpen another. You feel me? Like we all got to sharpen each other. We got to make sure each other bright. We gotta lift each other up when we down. If we do that, our race end up in a better position. You feel me? Like, I mean, I don't want to get into that. Like, it's a possibility that we, like, I just told you, he had 4 baby mamas. Jacob had 4 baby mamas. You feel what I'm saying? Like, He had 4 baby mamas. Now he chose the tribe of Judah to bring Jesus through. You feel me? That's why Jews, like, you feel me? That's how it's set up like that. But that's four different races. You feel me? Because we don't know what Leah and Rebecca was. They don't tell you. It just say we don't Leah, because everybody was just was free balling in there. So it didn't say how many daughters Laban had. He just, well, no, he did say he had Leah and he had 2. So, but we don't know how many he had after them. Feel me? Because everything's just free fall there. But we don't know if he had her with a wife and another wife. Everything was different. Everything was subjective. So to put a race on it is kind of idiotic, because when they were in Goshen in Egypt, they all mingling with each other. It's like, like, oh, she light skinned, oh, she mixed, oh, she Korean, or she, you feel what I'm saying, or she Hispanic. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing. But that's why we can't be arguing about certain things. We got to just understand that all things work for the greater good of those in Christ. Whatever happened, happened. And we gotta know this word, because we know this word is gonna help us. Not knowing what job we gotta work at, not knowing what type of business to start, not knowing where to get funding from, not knowing who to date, not knowing who to marry. That's not gonna put us in a better position. What's gonna put us in a better position is knowing this word, praying, shattering these strongholds that make us think these thoughts, because demons is technically a thought. You see what I'm saying? Like, when they rooted it back to the Greek, it's a thought. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's a that's why the Bible tells us, let's say, cast, what is it? Cast on every thought, every imagination. What is it? I get it. They get it though. You cast it away the thought of whatever. Cast on every thought, every imagination that goes against the word of God. You feel what I'm saying? If it's against, I cast it down. You feel me? That's rebuking the devil. You feel what I'm saying? Saying, Lord, rebuke you. Like, you rebuking it. You stopping it before it starts. And if we understand this, we go in the spirit. Everything is start in the spirit. Like, we thought about thoughts. Like, everything happened in the spiritual realm first. That's why it's so important about what you say, what you think, because everything started as a thought. So if I think negatively, if I think in a lack, because I learned this from Myron Golden. It's 2 sides of a coin. It's never one-sided. That's how the law of God made everything. Everything has 2 sides. So either you can't think about 2 things at the same time. So either I'm going to think about good, I'm going to think about evil. Either I'm going to think about lack, I'm going to think about abundance. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to think about what I need to do now, or I'm going to think about what I need to do in the future. I'm going to think about what I did in my past. I'm going to think about what I can do now. You can't think about 2 things at the same time. So if I don't have the faith that whatever happens, happens, or knowing that I cast down this thought before it comes into fruition, and even importantly, I don't speak it, that's another way. And I listen to rap music every now and then. Still, I don't listen to it as much as I did. And you feel me? Like, still sometimes go to the studio every now and then, make a little song or something, but I for sure don't talk and do all the same stuff as I once did. But you have to pay attention to what comes out of your mouth. That's why they capture us. The devil was the angel over worship, which is music. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
So that's one reason why our music has us saying so much foul stuff out of our mouth. And we basically speaking poverty into existence simply by always talking about not being sober. The Bible tells you that, and I'm going to read this scripture verbatim because I want everybody to know this scripture. It's in Proverbs 31. I had to turn my phone back on. Airplane. People can't call me. Proverbs 31. I'm going to start at verse 4. And this is a letter to the kings from, I always, and I told my people this before, and it was not Solomon's mother who wrote this. It was King Lemuel's mother who wrote this, but she was writing it to the people to understand like what a king should not do. And that's why another thing about in Proverbs 31, you understand that what a wife is, like what I'm gonna say a wife, but a righteous woman, what a virtuous woman is, which would in our terms equate to someone that you definitely should marry if she has these traits. But she's also telling him other things. In verse 4, it says, "It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor princes strong drink, lest thee drink and forget the law, and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be heavy of hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more." So let's read that I'm going to read it in the Amplified, and I'm going to read it in the Message, because the Message will give us the exact thing. The Amplified, well, I'm going to read it in the Message. That way we can just get straight to the point. The Message Bible is the Bible that talks like how we talking right now.
Okay.
It says, leaders can't afford to make fools of themselves, gulping wine and swelling beer. Least hungover, they don't know right from wrong, and the people who depend on them are hurt. Use wine and beer only as sedatives to kill the pain and dull the ache of the terminal ill, for whom life is a living death. So when we glorify smoking, drinking, having sex with all these different women, doing all this different stuff, we speaking poverty into existence, and we don't even understand what we're doing. So how do we know that the people that allow us, that put us on a pedestal to do this, how do they not? They know laws too, even if they don't even respect Jesus or respect God. They know the law of God. They respect that God, because his law can't lie. That's why you got people who rich. They just follow the laws of Solomon. They just follow it. Like they know. All the laws is the laws. Like the laws of it just is what it is. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they got us speaking all this stuff into existence, and we wonder why we in our situation. We speaking poverty into existence every time we talk about certain things. And it's very important that we understand that, because the Bible also tells us that death and life is in the power of the tongue. So I don't know, I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but
no, that's fine.
At the end of the day, we got to get in our Bible. Like we have to
Absolutely.
get in our Bible. We got to, like, it ain't even on no cliche. We know our Bible. We pray. We know our Bible. We can cast down these thoughts. We can cast out these demons. We can go in here and heal the sick. We can go in here and stop poverty at its root. You feel what I'm saying? We can go in here and it ain't just like a overnight thing. You got to war with the devil. You feel what I'm saying? You got to go into spiritual warfare with the devil. But when you stand on what you stand on, you grounded on what you grounded on, you teach your kids this, they teach their kids that, they teach their kids that, and ain't nobody going, eventually it got to break. And that's how it works.
I 100% agree with you. And I think, what were you using to see like the breakdown and how we speak today? What is that, an app that you were using?
So on the Bible app, you can, I need to get they need to pay me, because I've been shouting out the Bible app sometime. The Bible app, you can switch the translation. So okay. I personally like the amplified version, because the NIV is very easy to understand, and it's close to the King James. You can read the King James, but a lot of people don't understand it. The New King James is probably the best version to the original text. But King James is the first original. New King James is a edited version of the original to make you understand it more. The NIV is the New International Version. So basically it's for everybody in the whole world. So it's easy to understand anywhere. And then the Amplified, you got the Amplified regular and you got the Amplified Classic. So it's going to bring out the words. So it's going to basically give you the explanation of things in the text, in context, while reading.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And then the Message Bible, that's what I had read that explained it a little bit more. That's going to talk to you like how we talking. I read the Message Bible 2021, and it helped me understand the context of the scripture more, understand the meaning of what's going on, why it's going on, how it's going on. Now, when I study and read in New King James, and the Amplified, I can understand why I'm using this stuff because I already know the background knowledge. And if you can't read the Bible, if you feel like your time is so misconstrued, and it's no offense to nobody, but I mean, you should try to untangle that time. But if God's working on you to untangle your time, read the book of John. The book of John is live. It ain't even boring. Like, it's live though. It's like watching Power or something. You feel what I'm saying? The real talk. It's like it's live. Like, it opened up. In the beginning was the word. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it opened up. Like, and if you read in the Message, you read it in, you feel me, Amplified, NIV, whatever, you're gonna enjoy the book of John. And that's gonna bring your appetite to actually want to know what happened. And then you go back to the beginning. And then I just give y'all the heads up, the Leviticus and Numbers, you might fall asleep reading it, but you got to know what happened. You got to understand the law, understand why the law was put in place, because Noah, they didn't have laws. They just knew what not to do. That's why he chose Noah. They didn't have actual laws until they was in the wilderness. You feel me? This one, God is basically giving them laws to separate them. This one, it ain't just, you just not supposed to do certain stuff. This stuff is set in stone so you can live a prosperous life. Like, that's what we got in this Bible. He literally took them out of everybody else. He chose them. He said, I'm going to choose Israel. I'm going to choose Jacob. I chose Abraham people. So I'm choosing Abraham people. And I'm going to set them apart. So when he gave them the laws, he basically was like, I seen y'all operate in society. It's like seeing your kid. Like, it's like, you in the hood? Like, no, we take you out the hood. And yeah, we don't smoke Black and Milds. We don't drink every chance we get. If we drink a little sip of wine. You feel me? We don't smoke weed. We don't do this. You feel me? We don't go girl to girl. We don't do that. These is the law. You feel what I'm saying? Like, not even getting on nobody's case, but he set these laws in stone so that we don't be in poverty, because he knows what it leads to. It leads to unsuccessful people. And now we get a chance to follow these laws, follow what's going on. Jesus died for the remission of our sins. So whoever shall believe in him shall not die, but have everlasting life. And if we live by this and understand this, not judging each other, helping each other, lifting each other up, you going through something, I pick you up, whatever, we gonna be everything that we searching for. Imagine we pulling up kingdom building events. Say we got a kingdom building event sponsored by Halo. That's gonna happen. I'm gonna get into existence. We have Halo event sponsored by, you feel me, Halo app, and everybody pulling up Rolls. Everybody pulling up Bentley. You feel what I'm saying? Because they living by the kingdom principle. And you like, you know what, the people who ain't living like that, you know what they gonna do? Man, them dudes that be always talking about Jesus. What's gonna happen? Eventually, one of them gonna do what? Come over there.
Nobody said they want to figure out what's going on.
What's going on? What's this Jesus you talking about? You know what I'm saying? I heard a man of God say, he pulled up to the hood one day in the Benny Continental, right? He said he pulled up to the Benny Continental. And he come there all the time. He just was literally going to get some food. He wasn't flossing or nothing. He's just gonna get some food. They're like, who is you? He said, I'm such and such. They like, nah, you is such and such. Who your father? He said, such and such. They was like, nah, we know him. That ain't your father. He said, who? They say, who your father? Somebody else come, who your father? He said, some call him Jehovah Jireh, some call him Jehovah Nisi, some call his name Jesus. Now, every time he pull up, they listening. They want to have a conversation. You feel what I'm saying? To the point they going to church with him. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we got to cut this, not going to church crap out. Like, you got to go find you a church. Every church not perfect. Some churches gonna go through things. Yeah, some men of God they gonna fall short too. Some men of God, they possibly done stole, or some men of God and possibly done had sex with the people in the stuff happens. You feel what I'm saying? Stuff happens. But that don't mean that you ain't supposed to be in your bag bringing other people in there and we worshiping God, because the church was set in stone. We are, first of all, we are the church. We technically church right now. When 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, he shall be in the midst. But we have to, we got to get this ideal of, I don't got to go to church. I can have church at home. Or if y'all notice, after the pandemic, when people wasn't going to church, it's probably going to be hard to get people to go back to church. But stuff got chaotic. Yeah, we had pandemic and all, but stuff got chaotic, like real chaotic. Like I see perversion at all-time high. I can't even get on the internet without seeing a girl trying to seduce me to like her pictures.
No, that's kind of a, I think we was saying that earlier.
And it's, I'm not talking about you, young lady. If you listen to this, I want you to understand that you shouldn't be tempting your brother to sin. You feel me? Like, yeah, you got your curves. Yeah, you love your woman this, but you tempting your brother to fornicate or want to do something that's not going to put him in a better position. It's going to probably make him a slave to lust. And now he can't be productive. Like, it's funny. I was telling somebody this the other day, and it's funny because I didn't even mean to talk about this, but I was telling somebody the other day, it was like a lot of women, they be talking about their standards and what they want out of men, and men ain't doing this and women leveling up. But you are making him lust by being provocative on the internet. So do you really want him to succeed and be this husband that you want? Or do you just want his money? Or do you just want his money so you can succeed and complain about it? Which one you want? Like, you want success or you want poverty? Because if we're going off the word of God, like, it's certain things that we have to do so we can make proper decisions. It's not about sinning at that point, because when the sin is going to get the consequences regardless. You don't get the sin. The sin, you sin, you're going to get the consequence. You feel what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like, opposite reaction. But how is these men that don't have self-control, how they going to learn how to get self-control if everything a swipe away, or everything is a like away, or if I got the bag today, I can get this girl tomorrow. You feel what I'm saying? But all I want to do is do something illegal or what's deemed unrighteous to get it, and I really don't care because I just want to be happy. You feel what I'm saying? So like, you got to be mindful of each other. That go back to love your neighbor like you love yourself, and men too. We can't just be dogging these women and thinking that this why they I'm not gonna say every woman end up like that, but this why they want to do it. They want to be desired because men be dogging them. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, be trying to play crazy. Like, if you don't want her, don't be dealing with her. Like, you feel me? And like, I got a past too. You feel me? Like, and I got a future. You feel what I'm saying? But we can't be just playing crazy and thinking that, because everything has an effect. There's a cause and it's an effect. And when you make certain decisions, just know something else gonna happen, and it might not happen in your favor. So we got to be mindful of that. And I ain't gonna get on the tangent, go off the radar with that, because I ain't gonna get them on my case thinking they're gonna cancel me, because you can't cancel me because I'm under the blood of Jesus anyway. But nah, this is good. This was a good episode, T. Appreciate you for hopping on the God is My Source podcast. We bridge the gap between God, money, health, family, and relationships, transparently talking to our guests about their testimony, what they've been through. We keep it real, but we root everything back to the word of God. You feel me? Like, so make sure y'all tell y'all friends about this. Like, share it. Like, we about to get into this word. We about to get into this life. We about to live this abundant life. If we really want to live this abundant life, we got to know what God telling us to do. Like, we have to know. God is our source, not our money, not our cars, not our parents, not our rich spouses, not the government, not money, not nothing. God is our source. God provides for us, and everything else is a resource. And I appreciate Terrance for coming on here, displaying God being his source, because he was steered the whole time. And now he's being an example for some young man to see, you feel me, some young lady to see, and say that if Terrance Veals can do it, I can too.
Absolutely.
Might not happen the same way, but I can't cover this process, but I know that God has something for me because it happened for Mr. Terrance Veals. So I appreciate you for logging on with us. If you could pray us out, could you pray us out?
Oh man, I'm not good on the spot with that.
No matter,
I'm gonna let you do it. You did a good job earlier.
Oh, so you can pray. You can pray, bro. Even if it's Jesus wept. We
Oh man, I definitely wasn't. Yeah, my family, I'm always the one that passes it to the like, oh, you got it, bro. You can say it. What would I say? Jesus wept. Oh man, I know it's one of those things where I'm supposed to say something immaculate, but I think honestly, you did a great job earlier. So I mean, unless you want to do it, that's what I'm gonna say.
All right, we should go close it out. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for just letting us be able to talk to these people. We ask you, I want you to bind Terrance to your will, bind him to your mindset, give him a heart to pray, Lord Jesus, Lord, so that he can increase his prayer life, so that he's not nervous to pray in front of the people. For we know that you will give us perfect peace if our mind is stayed on you. So we don't have to worry about stress. We don't have to worry about anxiety. We don't have to worry about anything else if our mind is stayed on you. We trust and believe that your word is the truth. We trust and believe that your word will give us power. It will lead us to our expected end. It will lead us and guide us and not steer us wrong. Even if we end up in a pit like Joseph, we know that we don't know what can happen tomorrow. And even if we are rich like Solomon, we don't know what the kingdom may be held into with our sons if we dishonor you. So we try to honor you in everything we do. We try to keep you first in everything we do. We want to continue to trust you as our source and everything else as a resource. And we ask you to touch the lives of the people that have listened and bring them back to Christ. We ask you to lean on their hearts if they don't believe. Help them to understand your word in Romans 10:9, and just keep us and just lead us to the proper way of living and not allow us to fall short of your glory. And let the words out of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be acceptable in your sight. We thank you for each and everything you've done for us. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray this on the shelf. Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. See, that was good, man.
You pray next time. You pray next time. We appreciate y'all for logging on to God is My Source podcast, where we bridge the gap between God, money, health, family, and relationships. You feel me? We keep it real. God's word is no lie, because he's not like a man that he should lie. He's not like the son of man that he shall repent. So we appreciate Terrance for coming on. We logging out. See y'all next time.